Self-proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk on the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk comes to left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk on the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, join us in the chat rooms, either at liberaldanradio.com or on twitch.tv/liberaldanradio or twitch.liberaldanradio.com as well. Either way gets you to the Twitch channel. Shout out to Orvilby over on Twitch. Best thoughts to Aaron, who's dealing with a storm right now and no internet. Sadness ensues. Very sad with no internet. Of course, so stay safe, Aaron, of course. If you have to jet and for your safety, please do so. Shout out to Jolie as well, the other half of the mod squad. Appreciate y'all's help as always. In the chat over on YouTube, we have currently Roxanne, Steve from across the pond. We got Big Hook from the Great White North, Jeff from just north of Uranus. Let's see, Jackie. Did I say Roxanne? I think I said Roxanne already. Marie, CR. Thank y'all for joining and hopping in at the beginning of the show. Much love to all of y'all. Thank you again for joining. And we got Thomas, my older son. We just to explain, if you're watching on Twitch and you happen to see my Thomas, I love you, Thomas. I said, tell Henry I love him too. They are off with their grandparents this weekend, next week. Yeah, and we kept on telling them that that we were going to go to Disney World when they were not with us. And of course, they didn't believe us for a bit. But now Thomas, every chance he gets, will say, y'all got back from Disney already? So, LOL on that one. So, shout out to my boy, to both my boys. And, you know, for giving me humor. Lots of humor. I hit the wrong thing. I wanted to get I can't get a screenshot of it, apparently. I can do it on this side, I guess. Anyway. I'm very amused. Anyway, so... Anyway, so lots of stuff to talk about today, but more so on the same basic topic, which is that the fact that MAGA is revolting over the Jeffrey Epstein client list, or apparently lack thereof. We're going to go over a bunch of clips of conservatives, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of the MAGA clips of people who were, you know, supportive of Donald Trump, and who are now maybe coming to the realization. Not all of them. There are people who are still going to be carrying the water. There are people who are still going to make excuses, and still, even the ones that are annoyed are also making excuses. But it's becoming harder and harder and harder for Donald Trump to escape some certain truths about the fact that he campaigned on, you know, releasing the list. He campaigned about how it's going to be released and it's going to be wonderful. We're going to get all the people who were on that list, yada, yada, yada. They believed him. They've been calling for it. And as I've, you know, watched like Jeff Carrera's show in the morning or listened to his show in the morning, and he'd become more and more and more impatient over the lack of release of files that they were anticipating. And ever since now, we are now hearing from the Trump Department of Justice that there's no evidence that Epstein killed himself, and that there's, you know, no client list, and if there's no client list, then why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison? I mean, if there are no clients, if there's no list of clients, there's no clients. If there's no clients, there's no crime, right? Get a little bit more about that in a second as well. What's up, Mad Mac? Let's take a look at things happening in San Francisco with beating the heck out of people, dragging and running people over with their vans. This is wrong. I'd have to see that. I haven't really seen that. Let's see. I know not a MAGA. The only MAGA that cares about this are the influencers. Everyday MAGA could care. Well, they could care less. So they care? Or I'm being nitpicky, obviously. It should be they couldn't care less, because, you know, I'm a grammar Nazi on that. However, yeah, it's finally gotten to the point where Trump has told a lie so bad that even the maggots won't buy it. But here's the thing. There are Trump supporters who are going to not care, and the Trump supporters that don't care about this are basically saying that they don't care about the abuse and trafficking of children, which, again, just solidifies the point that conservatism has a prerequisite of hypocrisy. because there's too many, I think, at this point, people to be hypocrite of the week. Like, almost all of them seem to be hypocrites of the week. But we're going to be going over some of the people who are, going through, and making their comments about that. There are 2 local radio shows where such things took place this afternoon. And there are other clips where we could see from people in Congress to other folks who are, again, influenced or whatever. But you don't see, a lot of people aren't going to see, for example, my criticism of Donald Trump and the hypocrisy here, because I'm fully supportive of the release of the client list. Simply because of the fact that if somebody's an Epstein client, i.e. they were using him to traffic, themselves some youngins or whatever, it should be released as to who it was. And people are like, oh, well, what if it was Bill Clinton? Fine, burying him under the prison. Donald Trump, bury him under the prison. Anybody who is involved in the harming of children, bury them under the prison. I don't care. Unlike MAGA folks, I have no political loyalty to any politician whatsoever. If you turns out that you are one of the scumbags that participated in this crap, I don't give a crap about what happens to you or your political career. Y'all deserve to go to the bad places together. Period. End of story. Chad says, they don't care. Most people understand it's not wise to release every bit of leverage we possess on leaders around the world. If you release the Epstein list, that wouldn't release every piece of leverage that we have about leaders around the world. But let me tell you, I'm going to make this point later, but I'll make this point now at the start, just to be clear. Donald Trump doesn't give a rat's ass about anybody else other than himself. Donald Trump absolutely would throw any political leader from across the world under the bus if it would help his political career. This is the guy that thinks that a letter is a deal. That he wrote a letter to people saying, this is going to be your tariff rate. And that he thinks that's the deal because that's what he gave them. That's what he's telling them to accept. That's not a deal. That's an offer at best, a threat at worst. It's not a deal. But he doesn't understand these little concepts because he was never the art of the deal. He was the art of the con. He's the art of bullying. It's the art of applying political and economic pressure to leverage things, but he doesn't understand that it doesn't work that way. He thinks that he could use his business tactics to, bully people around the world just because he could bully his small business people that were doing work for his casinos and then say, well, I'm not going to pay you, accept this lower deal. He thinks he could do the same thing with, the head of Brazil and the head of Mexico and the head of any of the other governments, easy for me to say, any of the other governments across the world. He thinks that he could just simply tell them, this is how it's going to be, and they're going to be like, okay. No, that's not how it is. But I guarantee you that there's more leverage that we have over the leaders of the world than whether or not their name's on the list. The only reason that anybody would be opposed to releasing this list, to releasing a list of people who utilized Jeffrey Epstein's services in child trafficking to harm children, the only people that wouldn't want that released are people who are on that list. That's the only logical explanation. That's the only reasonable explanation. Is that anybody else would be like, fine, release the list. Good. I want to. Now, every single person who might have taken a flight with Jeffrey Epstein, I could maybe see the argument of, well, maybe some of those names should potentially be redacted if, there's no evidence that they took a flight on Epstein's plane and therefore must be nefarious. Because, all horrible people do things that aren't nefarious. They don't live nefarious lives 24/7, Horrible people can take a dump. That doesn't make the dump nefarious unless they're doing it on somebody without their consent. But, so there's certain concerns to be considered because, if you automatically release every single name that was ever hooked to Jeffrey Epstein whatsoever, then yeah, some people might get damaged or harmed who had nothing to do with any of his bad behaviors. But the way Pam Bondi made it sound when she was, talking to Fox News, the way she made it sound was clearly that the list of Epstein's clients were on her desk. And before we play anything else today, we're going to play that.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
And there you go. So Jeffrey Epstein's list was on her desk. He specifically asked about the client list, and she says it's on her desk for review. Now she's trying to backtrack and claim other things, but she said back then that the list, not the files, but the list was on her desk. No, Chad, no. It is not that the file was on the desk to review. It's that the list was on her desk to review. The list, not the file, the list. If she meant the file, she would have said something like, I have all of the Epstein files on my desk for review and we'll be going over them and we'll look into whether or not there's a list of clients or not. That's not what was asked, and that's not how she answered. She answered specifically that the list is on her desk, that i.e. that she had the list. Words have meaning, and we should make people, be responsible and accountable for the words that they say. Of course, as we go here to the briefing during the cabinet meeting, they asked, Pam Bondi was about to say something, and...
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's...
Now, yeah, Donald Trump had been talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Now, of course, one of the big things that everybody has been bringing up in response to this comment by Donald Trump is, are you still talking about this? You're still talking about the 2020 election and how you think it's a fraud, even though there's no evidence that it was a fraud. You're still talking about that, right? So, Jeffrey Epstein was supposedly to y'all a known sex offender, a known criminal who is in prison or in jail or whatever for his actions pertaining to the sex trafficking of children. But he questions whether or not why we're still talking about it. And because y'all made it a big deal. Y'all made it a big deal that you were going to release the list. It was going to be released.
It's been talked about for years. You're asking...
It's been talked about for years, but we haven't seen the list, have we?
We have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Yes, especially your supporters. Your supporters have been out there talking about this list because they thought that people like Bill Clinton was on a list. Maybe Joe Biden was on a list. They were talking about all the possible people who were on that list of the people that they don't like. Of course, they never actually conceived and thought of the fact that what if their own guy, Donald Trump, is on that list too?
That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't.
So now it's a waste of time to talk about somebody who was, died in prison under mysterious circumstances. When, he might have been able to name names and say who was involved in these horrible things. But we can't know because he died. Did he kill himself? I don't believe that he killed himself. I fully believe that somebody with power, that's a conspiracy theory that I can get behind. And it's something that I agreed with a lot of conservatives. That I don't believe that he offed himself.
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy.
We're having great success and tragedy. It's both. We're having both success and tragedy.
With what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration. But you go ahead.
It's a desecration. No, nobody desecrates anybody except for me. You can't desecrate my administration and make us look bad because we're not delivering on a promise that we made.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been
we saw that.
Getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along.
No, you said you didn't say the files are on my list are on my desk to be reviewed. You said the list was on you, which confirmed the existence of a list, and now you're backing up. Let me tell you one damn thing. This is to Chad. This is to any conservatives who are watching right now. Look, if you're a conservative, I will open up the phone lines a little bit. You can debate me if you want. I will open up those phone lines in a little bit. But if you want to debate this, you're more than welcome to. But if I guarantee you that if Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, anybody else who is in a Democratic administration, had they said, yes, I have this on my desk when a media reporter or whatever asked them about a list, and then you later say that I didn't say it was the list I had on my thing, it was my file that I had on the desk, you know that all of these MAGA folks that are now trying to defend Bondi with these lines, and not all of them are. There are a bunch of them who are coming out against Bondi. But those that are still defending Bondi, I can guarantee you they're not going to be like, oh, well, that's not really what she meant. She really meant the files, not the list. I guarantee you that if someone from Joe Biden's administration said that, they would not be hearing it. They would be saying, oh, it's a cover-up, it's a cover-up, it's a cover-up. And you know what? I would also hold them accountable for, not saying the right thing, because I have. And you know that I will do that because that's what I do on this show. Again, I don't play political favoritism when it comes to horrible actions. I will criticize my side just like I will criticize the other, especially on issues such as this. So no, absolutely not. I am not going to sit here and just let people say, oh, it's not what she really meant. Of course, well, what she really meant, she should have said what she really meant, or be held accountable for saying that she had it and then saying that she didn't.
Along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean what I said. I just said it. No. Bullshit. Bull effing shit. Atrocious at every game. Didn't she say there were bombshells on there, which were on her desk? Yes. Jake Tapper should really get on this. If you want to see a cover-up on par with Watergate, it's this, not whatever bullshit he wrote about his poorly sourced book. Exactly. Trump is his best friend of 25 years. Exactly. If they released the damn list and didn't cover this up, maybe we wouldn't be talking about it. Exactly. Trump is such a moron, too. He had to step up to downplay the Epstein files at a time when Pam was fully willing to make an utter fool of herself to defend her dogshit decisions. A frickin' men. Trust Save Game says, I can't imagine someone feeling the need to defend Jeffrey Epstein's wingman. Even Beck Turner called for her to resign. I think she should resign and be investigated. More than that of saying that as well. We'll get to that in a second, too. But yeah. I just can't. I can't with these people that are trying to. Steve, come on, Dan. She only had 5 months to clarify her statement so far. Exactly. See what else. Hegemony. Whatever has always been a tell. Success plus tragedy. That's like a combination. KFC, Taco Bell. Yeah. See, Roxana said something about Levitt's cleavage. Not sure how to spell it, but no, I am asking phone. Okay. See, Chad says, how would she know if there wasn't a list or file if she had to review them? Well, then she should have said, when Fox News asked them, she should have said, I have files on my desk. I don't know what's in the files yet. I will go over those files, and then we will release what we can release. And look, she says something about not wanting to release the videos of whatever potential pornographic stuff that took place. I don't want to see that. I don't know anybody who wants to see that except for maybe the deceased Jeffrey Epstein or maybe some other pedos that are, defending, Donald Trump in this case. Yes, exactly, Steve. Are you still talking about Biden? Exactly. Another thing. That's what we should be saying. from now on. Every single time a conservative starts talking about something from the past, we'd be like, are you still talking about this? Why are you still talking about this? What? Anyway, so there is a show. I usually stream or usually play clips that I hear on Jeff Carrera's morning Ringside Politics show. But that's not the only show that airs on WGSO. And we have lots of examples of, other folks who are conservatives that we've talked about on the show. And here's another example. This show is Baldy and the Blonde. Their Twitter account is @Baldy Blonde on Twitter or whatever. But let's just listen, and see what they have to say about this particular thing.
I just wanted to say that everybody by now has heard, Trump from that cabinet meeting yesterday, and we'll play that in a little.
And that's the Baldy. That's not the Blonde that's talking.
In a little bit and give our takes on it, but it's preposterous, his take on things. Yes. We shouldn't even be asking, let alone talking. We shouldn't be asking about Epstein at this point. I mean,
so yeah, they start their show. They start off their coverage about Donald Trump and the Epstein cover-up with criticizing Donald Trump for saying that they should not be talking about it, asking about it, thinking it, or whatever. So these are the first bunch of revolting MAGA folks.
Right.
Anyway.
How dare us express curiosity? Exactly. What?
So,
yeah, I thought it was a real misstep by Trump. And normally he can read the room.
Yeah, normally he could read the room. No, I mean, clearly they're still going to kiss his butt, but even they are saying that this was a bad thing that Trump has done.
There's been a few times when he's been astoundingly just so off kilter.
I think she was going to say astoundingly stupid. It sounded like she was about to say astoundingly stupid and then kind of changed her mind because I don't know, she didn't want to, piss off the other folks who might be listening who are still making excuses for this asshat. Remember, if you don't think that Donald Trump had anything to do with any sort of sex crimes, remember that he was found civilly liable for sexual abuse. Remember that he said that twice that he could walk up on women and grab them by the hoo-ha. He's talked about how he would go into the locker rooms of the Miss Teen USA while they were changing and then take looks at these naked young women. So don't tell me that you don't think that Donald Trump is a sex. Don't be surprised now when Donald Trump turns up to be one, when the list finally gets revealed and lo and behold, he was on it. Atrocious every game. Every time they bring our pride in, I feel the need to step in and defend him. I love Joe and I despise bullying. What I've done to Joe is bullying. So even today she could have said, I was mistaken. I said, listen to the files is bad because it's been 5 months, but not as bad as this mess. Let's see. Only took them 9 years to realize that Trump is a scumbag. I guess they did better than Trump, who apparently took 25 years to realize that Epstein was a pedo. I don't know. It's very well possible that Donald Trump believed that Epstein being a pedo was a feature and not a bug in his character. Remember, Donald Trump is also the one that said that he would screw his own daughter if she wasn't his daughter when his daughter was young. And there was some very disturbing pictures of him with the daughter sitting on his lap or whatever as well. So Donald Trump has made some questionable decisions as well. Let's see.
And this is definitely, in my view, the top. Even worse than his misunderstanding of the public sentiment regarding the forced vaccinations, which I realize he didn't force them, but
forced vaccinations, of course, yeah, they're,
and that was strange, but this was bizarre. So misstep, big one.
We have two clips. The next one is going to be and I clip them separately.
Okay.
So we can focus first on the question and discuss that for a second.
We're going to skip some of that.
Okay, so the question is specifically isolated to whether Epstein ever worked for an American or foreign intelligence question, right?
I think so.
And so it totally is. And
yeah.
Listen to Trump's response. We shouldn't even be asking about it because Epstein's been in the news for so long. Kobe, let's hear 13.
Talking about unbelievable. I mean, I can't believe you're asking.
Well, he's just wrong 100%.
100%.
So there you go. Two MAGA supporting folks saying that Donald Trump is wrong on this 100%. So that's some of the revolt right there. Let's see what else I have to say about this, and we'll jump to the next show.
really, really weird too. And he looks worse than it sounds. I don't know if you got to look at him when he's saying it, because this is the first time I ever just listened to him. It doesn't sound as angry and snarky as he looked.
That's because he's an ugly, angry, snarky person, and that's why he's going to have that look. And he's, looks, when you hear somebody talking, you get some of it, but when you see their facial responses, that really just solidifies. And he clearly, just listening to it doesn't do it justice. We saw his face. We know what he looks like. You know how exasperated he was over the whole thing. And he's exasperated over the fact that they want to now to continue to talk about this, even though we all know why. We all know why he's not releasing this list.
I mean, if you read people who were there, they all put snapped at the reporter. He snapped. He really, he looked crazy. I just don't.
Let's see. Atrocious at every game. Are they just now realizing that Trump is an asshole? I mean, they probably understood that he was an asshole before, but he was their asshole, so therefore they didn't care as much because he was being an asshole to other people, and they like when he's an asshole to other people. They like that he's an asshole to people who are here seeking asylum. They like that he's an asshole for people who are here who weren't seeking asylum, who were given permission to stay, like the Iranian woman from New Orleans, who was just let go from her detention, even though the investigation of her is still going to continue. What crime did she commit? I don't know. She was here legally because the government said, you can stay here. The government says you can stay. That means you're here legally. But these people ask stupid questions like, well, why isn't she a citizen? Why did it take her so many years and she's still not a citizen? You don't have to be a citizen to be here legally. You can be a legal resident without being a citizen. Let's continue.
So good at manipulating media. Even if he doesn't like your question, he never acts like that. That's just
see, that's the thing. He never acts like that. That's the thing. They're still kind of blind to it because he acts like that all the fucking time. Atrocious at every game. He hates the people I hate, so we're fine with it. Exactly.
That's just really
not like that. And
bizarre.
And you know what? So it was just like a day or two ago, he was talking about the stolen election of 2020.
Yeah.
Well, he's still talking about that.
Right.
And you know
we
what?
can't talk about Epstein. And listen,
the 2020 election is important, and we should talk about it. But we should talk about this too.
It's super relevant if, in fact, as
I mean, clearly, they buy the lie that it was stolen or whatever, but still, they at least understand the point that if we can't talk about Epstein, then clearly that means we also can't talk about the 2020 election anymore or anything else.
And listen,
the 2020 election is important, and we should talk about it. But we should talk about this too.
It's super relevant if, in fact, as many people have alleged, it's not about Epstein and his lurid, disgusting, child sex abuse, whatever he was doing. Mostly what we've heard is, sex trafficking young women to people of prominence, to film them, because he had cameras in every room of the house, to blackmail them, to do the bidding of whoever paid for the blackmail. And,
why are you asking about that? We've been talking about this for a long time, Michelle.
You're right, Tom.
And yeah, as Atrocious at every game says, they're getting so close to an epiphany. Yeah, that's why I said, is MAGA almost there on Epstein? Almost. They're almost there. And even tweeted at these people. I actually said, hey, let's see. Do I have this up still? Let's open this in a new tab real quick. Switch back over here from my Twitter account. Y'all are almost there. Answer this question. What is the most likely reason that someone wouldn't want the Epstein client list released? The answer is clearly because their name is on it. So why doesn't Trump want y'all talking about the list? Simple as that. So yes. But they're close. They're close to it. I don't know if these people are ever going to realize and give up faith on him in general. They probably just believe, I didn't listen to all of this clip because I was driving or whatever, so I might hear things that I don't know, but I'm sure they're going to be like, oh, it's the other people who have something over Trump now. It's other people who, are trying to make it difficult, who might have, undue power that we, the people from the first term maybe. I don't know. Let's continue.
Let it go, let it go, let it go. Come on. Jeez.
And how dare you ask about the truth?
And they actually like cowboy mouth, which is interesting. Let it go, let it go, let it go.
behind the JFK assassination. That's
Right.
over 60
Well,
years old.
I know, and you know, we have 50 seconds left, Tom.
Right.
I heard somebody saying, I thought this was a great take. Look at the difference between Tulsi Gabbard's handling of the JFK files and the way Trump and Bondi and, you know, the two like hostages, Bongino and Cash
two
Patel
hostages.
handled the Jeffrey Epstein matter. She just released everything. And, you know, we don't need indexes. We don't need your help. Just release it. And that's what they should have done. But the way this was handled is bizarre. And I'm sorry to say, but I think it's a real problem. And we have communists in the waiting looking to find anything they can.
Communists in the waiting. Oh, no.
Jack Clay. I want to thank
That's another commercial. Let's skip past the commercials.
Uncle Jack is gumbo.
Let's skip past the commercials. We don't need to hear all that. Again, I didn't have time to really go through much of this, but
Welcome back to Baldy and the Blonde. I'm Michelle Godin here every Wednesday at 4. You can follow us at Baldy Blonde on X and listen to our shows at baldyandtheblonde.com, commercial free.
so they get a cheap plug on the World End Radio.
And thanks for all the feedback. And I do wish that people would like and join the group and like our posts. But I don't know. It's like pulling teeth. So
Hey, at least I can sympathize or empathize with them on that point. Let's continue.
anyway, we were discussing the lovely...
You heard the word gumbo. I make a damn good gumbo too, and actually, it's actually also gluten-free, and you wouldn't know because I'm a good chef.
Anyway, we were discussing the lovely topic, which apparently is so ancient that we're not allowed to ask questions about it anymore, about Epstein and his sex trafficking and, you know, political blackmail, etc., which is no longer a thing. You just imagined that there was a Jeffrey Epstein, and you imagined that Pam Bondi said that she had the list on her desk, that she was reviewing it, and that, I don't know, there were thousands of was it hours of video or hour videos? I don't remember, but Tommy, there?
Well, she said,
I mean, if there's thousands of hours of videos or 1,000-hour videos, I mean, it's the same thing, sort of, but let's go on.
well, she said something about tens of thousands of hours,
yeah.
something like that. But now she's backtracked and said, well, no, what the videos depict are Epstein watching kiddie porn.
Well, which
or he
is
had kiddie. I mean,
ridiculous.
it's like there's all of a sudden there's just all that other stuff is just gone. Now, in her defense, and I have watched her interview when she was on Fox a little while ago when she said that it was on her desk. What she said was, and she really did say, the file is on her desk, just like she said the MLK. And
Did she? Did she really say that? I don't believe she really said that. I think I lost the frickin' video though, so let's pull that back up real quick.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
She didn't say file. She said it, i.e. the list. So they are wrong. They are not saying it correctly. She did not say that the list or that the file was on her thing. She said that the list was on her desk. The list. She didn't say file. She said list.
about the file. Now, it's quite possible that there is no list per se. Like he didn't actually have
Right.
a list compiled on a spreadsheet.
Right,
So
exactly.
Technically, they're right, but that doesn't mean they don't have names. Come on.
Well, of course, and just to be really specific, the question she was asked was, quote, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? End of question. Bondi's answer, it's sitting right now on my desk to review.
Yeah, it. The list. Not it, the files. It, the list.
That's a
Well, and that's true. But if you look at it in a larger context, I think you'll see that she's talking about.
yeah. Either way, it doesn't matter. She just
But
hasn't released the
no,
file.
exactly.
We're not
That's
just
that's
looking for a list. We were looking for the file. What happened?
That is true. That is true. That when I listen to conservatives, often they will talk about how they want to see all of the Epstein files, not just the list. But Fox News again specifically asked her about the list, and she said it's on her desk. So, and again, if you're going to say I'm being nitpicky or whatever, fine. Yes, I'm being nitpicky because it's exactly what would be done if this was a Democratic administration doing the same thing. And I would also be critical of the Democratic administration that said, yes, we have this list on on my desk, and then said, oh, there's no list. What list? I don't have a list. I would be critical of anybody, whatever, regardless of the political party of the administration. I would be critical of that.
And I'm sick of our government hiding everything from us. It's just ridiculous.
Well, yeah, given the context of the last effing sentence, is the client list. It's like when, the Republicans would be like, when Bill Clinton said, it depends on what your definition of is. They want to pull that crap with Bill Clinton and his terminology and the words he used, yet Bondi? No. Good for the goose, good for the gander.
Ridiculous.
Okay.
This is supposed to be transparency and also accountability. That
I'm surprised the conservatives are like, well, we can't be transparent because we don't like trans people.
Okay, that's the perfect segue to the next clip that we have. It's Alina. How did you say her last name?
Alina Habba. I want to say we've talked about her before.
Alina Habba, but still, let's continue.
She is the one who is shutting down the crushing police consent decrees, which New Orleans labors under. Thank you, Mitch Landrieu. And so usually, I think she's great.
Well, maybe the reason that New Orleans had to deal with the consent decree is because the police in New Orleans back then were not good and were doing things that were terrible, and as such needed the federal government to come in and, stop the violation of individuals' rights. But,
Well, she was pretty great in this sound clip.
She's fantastic.
This was back in February on Pierce Morgan has a show called Uncensored.
Yes, it's good.
And she was being interviewed on that show, and she's talking specifically about...
Yeah, it's exactly atrocious at every game. Alina Habba, the Trump's attorney who didn't know how to enter a document into evidence. Exactly. I mean, completely incapable as it comes to being an attorney, especially a trial attorney, yet they're praising her.
He asked her specifically about the Epstein case and file and whether there's going to be names and arrests, that sort of thing.
Yep.
So, Kobe, that's clip number 14.
Case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
Do you think...
Nope. No accountability, just more actual lawfare than, the made-up lawfare.
Do you think by releasing information from these files, we are likely to see criminal actions being taken?
Absolutely.
Oh, guess not. You can't take criminal actions if there's no list. And then what if somehow a list now magically appears? Won't that be used by defense attorneys to be like, well, I thought they said that there wasn't a list. They said that no list existed. So now how did you come up with this? I question the integrity of the list. They'll question the chain of evidence and how it was handled and if this is really a legitimate list or not. And anybody who is now accused of a crime based off of any sort of listing of individuals who participated in crimes with Jeffrey Epstein, supposedly, now are going to have an easier way out for their attorneys to be like, well, they said that no list exists, so how are they coming up with one now? They'll use these words against them, and it'll help legitimate criminals get away with their crimes simply because this administration is trying to cover up for somebody, i.e., in my opinion, Donald Trump.
Really?
I think it would be negligent for us not to hide lists, to protect political friends, all of that. We don't have time for that.
Well, unless it's Donald Trump, apparently.
Wow, hide lists, protect political friends. She wasn't playing around.
No, she's so awesome. By the way, she is the director of the Civil Rights Division of the department.
And I didn't realize that she was the director of the Civil Rights Administration. Holy crap, that's terrible. I mean, she is such a terrible attorney. And they put her in charge of that? Pfft. Wow.
Well, we should point out she's been a counselor to Donald Trump for several years.
Yes.
And she was terrible at it. I mean, he found guilty of 34 counts of 34 felonies.
And so it's not like she's flying blind here.
No.
She's seen things, heard things. She has some kind of knowledge. And she said straight up that we have names that will come out. She says so many individuals.
It's shocking. It's shocking. How could it not be?
How could it not be? And we shouldn't have hidden lists, which is exactly what we now have.
Yeah.
To protect political friends. That was catastrophic, that interview. And of course it's resurfacing now. And then they release a memo saying that there's no client list, and then there's Trump immediately saying, well, why are you asking about it? Well, they had a memo saying that there's no list, and I'm not supposed to ask you about it.
It's just, I mean, I've, tried to listen to different people's viewpoints of what is this all about?
We all know what it's all about. But Impeccable Living is here. Hello, Impeccable Living.
Oh, my.
Wait, Impeccable Living says he was doing something gay. I am shocked.
Oh, my.
Anyway, let's see. Y'all are talking about the ACA in the chat for a little bit, I guess, with benefits. We can get back into certain things that pertains to, I guess, the healthcare conversations that's being had maybe a little bit later in the show, but I will point out that if you voted for Donald Trump and you listened to the show before voting for Donald Trump, you knew exactly what was going to happen to healthcare in this country, especially with Agenda 47 and Project 2025 being basically the same thing. Basically, Agenda 47 being Project 2025 for dummies. Although every single thing, anybody who might have still supported Project 2025, I would argue would be a dummy regardless. But
heard somebody say, "Oh, it's just so awful," and it would bring down so many governments around the world, because higher ups in governments around the world are, engaged in sex trafficking and being blackmailed. Well, you know what? Bring them down. Good.
Hey, I can say that I agree with the Baldy and the Blonde on something. If you're a government official and your government will be taken down by your criminal behavior with children, you deserve to be brought down. Done. I'm done with you. No problem. I have no reason to. There's no reason to judge. There's no justification for saying to protect child sex traffickers. None whatsoever. So now look, and by them, the Trump administration doing this, it's given credence to the people who are conspiracy theorists, who think all these things who thinks that it's probably even more vast than what it really is. All you're doing by telling these people that there was a list, there wasn't a list, we have names, we don't have names, all they're doing is giving credence, giving, these people who are spreading these theories about excessive things that are going above and beyond, all the Pizzagate crap. All the Pizzagate crap that came out, but that you're now going to give them people, well, God, they must have infiltrated the Trump administration too, and all these Pizzagate stuff, blah, 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 blah.
If the only thing that came out was no names and nothing like that, if the only thing that came out was, yes, he was working for a foreign and or U.S. intelligence agency, that's all it would take to be catastrophic for this administration.
Sure. I
Right.
mean, well, it wouldn't have. You mean catastrophic because of the last few days where they suddenly decided they weren't releasing it?
Well, I guess
because
what I mean is
otherwise
that-
it's not their fault. I mean,
No, but it would just blow the whole. Well, because
Well, it would depend when those so-called, because apparently that's a thing that I hadn't heard yet, that apparently Jeffrey Epstein was also an agent for the government. I don't know. I mean, whatever. That's a huge conspiracy theory. But again, you're giving the conspiracy theorists credence because, again, you're allowing them to be able to now say, see, we told you so. We told you that there's a cover-up, and now here's another one.
because they're shown to be lying and covering up and all that. If it comes and all previous administrations that Epstein was working under, but this one because
was Epstein not was Epstein not working for Trump if he was a whatever? I don't know. I don't know the details of that conspiracy theory. Let's see. She's an awesome, but what she said there was accurate impression, even if she didn't realize the incredible irony. Yep, exactly. Atrocious at every game. Project 2025 for people who don't like to read. Regardless that Trump never read it, doesn't matter that he hires people from Project 2025 to hand him EOs to sign. Exactly. And yes, Occam's razor too. Absolutely.
He's in power now. He's saying that there's no list. There's nothing. I can't even believe you're asking me questions. If all that came out was that, yes, he was working for the U.S. or Israel or whoever else, or a multiple of places that were paying him for this information, that alone would be horrific.
Yeah, now it would, because of this last few days of just insane mishandling. I mean, just insane. I don't know what, I mean, let's just say you wanted to dig your way out of this. What are you going to do? Fire Bondi and say she lied?
You're right.
I mean, she's...
Well, that's what he'll do. That's what absolutely he'll do. If he feels the need to, he will throw Bondi right under the bus. Because again, as I said before, Donald Trump has no care for anybody in the world except for himself. And he'll throw anybody else under the bus that he can to save his political ass.
I mean, she's going to be hung out to dry. The whole thing. And back in the day, a few months ago, when Bongino and Patel were beginning this salvo, they looked so bizarre on Maria Bartiromo's show.
It totally looked like a hostage.
All right, so before they start playing more, I don't know if they went into this in the third segment of their show or not, but I think we've listened to all about for Baldy and the Blonde for this point. Let's see. Chad wants us to have a good night. Says, yes, Big Hook, you were right. I'm an evil, out-of-touch human being who doesn't deserve to exist. I don't believe he was saying that, but he was saying the fact that, pointing out the fact that, like many conservatives, you don't see a problem with things that are happening until they happen to you. And that's his view of what you're saying right now with what's going on with the healthcare in this country and that threat that this so-called big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump had passed is going to cause people to have in this country. They're going to lose their healthcare. They're going to lose. I'm surprised they haven't just flat out done a repeal of the Affordable Care Act yet again, because there's no John McCain to save the day at this point. So I'm frankly shocked that they haven't tried just a flat-out repeal of the Affordable Care Act. They're probably trying to do it via the back door, though. That being said, there are people who are going to get major pain from what this administration is doing. And those people have every right to be pissed off at the enablers of Donald Trump, which include the people who voted for Donald Trump. Now, of course, my electoral college votes went for Donald Trump. I didn't vote for him, but I live in a red state. Chad doesn't, voted for Donald Trump, but lives in a blue state. So neither of us had any say in the election of Donald Trump or not in this time. But again, Chad, you still support Trump. And you still claim to support Trump, even though there's been plenty of evidence that we've shown on the show as to why you shouldn't still support Trump. We're just wondering, what will it take for conservatives to stop supporting Donald Trump without having something happen directly to them that harms them or their loved ones in any particular way. So, he's referring I was morally bankrupt over a €1,300 pay. Somehow that makes me understand things just over for the night. I'd missed some of what was said with the back and forth over there, but the whole idea that, I don't know why, if you have veterans benefits, I don't know why you wouldn't use them. But again, I guess you're on Medicare instead of the VA, but why wouldn't you want to take advantage of all of the stuff that you earned via your work? If you worked as a veteran, if you worked as a soldier, and you served the country and you earned VA benefits, why wouldn't you take advantage of them? If you earned benefits as an employee, as a retired employee for anyone, why wouldn't you use them? That was part of what you worked for. So again, there's nothing wrong with taking advantage of a benefit that you earned. Thing is that there's also something wrong with taking actions in a way that causes other people to be harmed and losing health coverage, losing the ability to get your health care paid for that you were relying on and now aren't going to be able to take advantage of because the current administration is trying to do away with a bunch of that is problematic. I don't use it because I can afford to save that spot for another veteran. That shouldn't be how it goes. You should be able to use it because you're a veteran, and all the other veterans should also be able to use it. There shouldn't be cuts to veterans' care. Like, when MAGA folks say that they support the troops, but then cut VA benefits, like, I question how that's possible. This administration doesn't give a rat's ass if they're trying to cut VA benefits. They're trying to cut, they were in front of, was it John Ossoff, the senator from Georgia, was out there trying to get them to explain, what it is they were going to cut, because the line item that was being cut was for people who would be working for the VA. And if you're cutting billions of dollars worth of salary for people who are working the VA, that means you're going to have much fewer people being able to get the care that they worked for as veterans, as previous service members. You're going to lose that because they're making all these drastic cuts. Because again, as I've said before on the show, they're cutting before they're measuring. You're not saving them much of anything in the grand scheme of things. And we should be making sure that every person who's a veteran gets the coverage that they need, that they earned, that they worked for via their service to this country. So I'm not going to sit. I wouldn't sit here and tell you that you should not take advantage of the benefits that you earn, but everyone else should be able to do it either. And you shouldn't have to make that decision. You shouldn't have to pay anything extra. It should be covered. Your stuff should be covered. Your health care should be covered. But everybody, but again, I do believe in Medicare, Medicaid, and Medicaid for all. I do support that as well. Everybody's health care should be covered. I mean, I'm sitting here, I just met my maximum out of pocket because I'm having a procedure done next Thursday to go pew 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 on a not so little kidney stone that's hanging around in my kidney that I don't want to have to try to pass because it will never fit. Because unlike, other people's body parts that can make room for a larger thing passing through a smaller canal, the ureter doesn't do that. So we're trying to nip it in the bud before it becomes a major problem. But I just had to shell out an additional $1,200 on top of everything else to cover, the rest of my healthcare bills for the rest of the year, on top of, the insurance premiums that I'm still paying for the rest of the year. Because while I've paid we will have paid excuse me, $8,000 is our max out of pocket. So whatever my premiums are, about $1,000 a month. So I will have paid $20,000 this year for health insurance costs in this country, just to have all of my health costs covered. That's everything out of my pocket that I will have paid this year. $12,000 for insurance premiums and another $8,000 to cover maximum out of pocket expenses. That's it. That's what I will have paid $20,000 towards healthcare, and it's absurd. It's ridiculous. If we would have had Medicare for all or Medicaid for all or whatever, where we can opt in with their tax dollars and get a coverage for a family of 4 for $500 a month, I would be in a much better financial situation than I am now. Simple as that. Did Liberal Dan just say he has a small urethra? No, I'm not saying I have a small urethra. I'm saying I have an 8mm kidney stone in my kidney that will not pass down through the ureter. That's what I'm saying. Exactly, available. Welcome to USA Healthcare Offerings. Exactly. See, I'm all for the Medicare for all. Also, good luck on the procedure. Kidney stones suck. I have passed one. This one ain't passing. And I was in major pain back in February. I don't think it had to do with that. I don't know what the hell was going on in February, but that's when they caught the fact that we have a 8mm or whatever, however big that is, stone up there. And yeah, so we're dealing with that. And then in August, I'm getting my left knee replaced, and then probably in November, I'm getting my right knee replaced. So, but fortunately, at least, once we get to next month and then the last month, November, and all the physical, occupational, whatever therapy I'm going to need to deal with it after the fact, at least at that point, I will have had all my medical expenses covered, and everything else won't be an additional cost above and beyond the premium costs that come with, the insurance. Larger thing in a smaller canal. I will refrain from a comment about impeccable living. Hello, what was that?
Oh my.
Anyway. Hurry back, Aaron. Be safe. See, you realize that BBB is removing the VA benefits covering the burn pit victims and the Agent Orange survivors. Ugh. I did not realize that particular part, but if that's what they're really doing, oi. That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. What's up going on, Dean? How are you today? All right. Looks like my monitor is back, and now it's off again. It's off again. Ugh, I'm having such technical difficulties. Say, Big Hook, I was inferring you have means to jump the line when you want it. I said nothing about morality, but you guys say no to universal health care, which means so many fall between the cracks and die. Yep, exactly. See, I trusted every game. We have multi-billionaires in this country and people without health insurance. Even if I don't get behind billionaires, a policy failure, which I think AOC and Memdani believe. I know that's a effed up system. I mean, I believe that there's no ethical billionaires either, because there's no billionaire who became a billionaire without paying people substandard wages. Simple as that. That is my only criteria that requires me to say that there's no ethical billionaires, because every single billionaire got there. If you're a billionaire and you could show me that every single person who got paid as a part of you getting to billionaire status, if you could show me that every single individual that got paid by you to, in your seeking of wealth, that at least in your part of what they got paid, if you made sure that they got paid more than, poverty wages, then maybe I'll make an exception for you, but the exception will still prove the rule. But I've yet to see any such billionaire come up and show that every single person that got paid in their line of work or in their, ways, in their trying to become rich and trying to be successful, whatever, unless they can show me that every single person got paid a higher salary than what is minimally required. Even people like, let's say, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift plays a concert at a venue. Does Taylor Swift make sure that every person who works that venue are getting paid more money than what the very bare minimum that is required to be paid? If you're not doing that, then I'm sorry, you're not an ethical billionaire. Yeah. All these billionaires, not one Batman. Yeah, exactly. What's up with that? Yes, removing the funding for the 9/11 family support in the BBB. Yep. This is fair. I'm trying to be fair, right? So, anyway, let's go ahead and the next part I wanted to play, the next clip of stuff that I want to play is our friend Jeff Crouer, the one who actually played my my clapback parody about the creative director at WGSO. So kudos to him for doing that. But every Wednesday, he has a show on, and I didn't listen to the show at all, but not once. But I'm sure that he talked about, I've heard like maybe the little bit at the beginning just to make sure that they actually did cover this, but I have not listened to any of this afterwards. So all of this you're going to be hearing is news to me. So let's start playing Jeff Crouer with He Said, She Said, easy for me to say, which is the show that he does Wednesday with his own wife, Mimi Crouer.
Mimi was the big story of the last few days, whether the Trump administration wants to admit it or not, and that is the Epstein cover-up that is going on right now. I know you've got a lot to say about the implications of it.
So much to say, so much to say.
Yes. I feel it's time.
All right, just a little background on Mimi Crouer. This is somebody who threw like forever Lee beads from a Mardi Gras float in violation of the law because she was mad that they took down the statue to General Lee on Lee Circle.
I feel it's time for me to talk about this. I know a whole lot about it, and I wish I didn't, but I do, because I've done an extensive amount of research.
She's done the research, y'all. Let's see what his research brings her to. Let's see. I think Bill Gates giving over 90% of his fortune to charity is a pretty good billionaire. After the fact. But he still paid people substandard wages over the course of him becoming a billionaire. If he would still be very wealthy had he paid everybody fair wages. And still would have a bunch to give away. And maybe the total amount of money that he would be giving away is less, but the money he's given away is done on the backs of other people making him look good. So he's looking good because he's donating this money, but the money was still gotten from ill-gotten gains from paying people substandard wages. Anyway, let's continue.
To the point where sometimes you're like, can you just let it go? You shouldn't be thinking about these things all the time. But I'm sorry, when it comes to children, it's just, I can't. So, late Sunday night, there was a memo leaked to Axios, which is a pretty left-leaning publication.
Right. And let me just jump in real quick and just say this.
Let me just jump in. Let me just jump in and interrupt my wife because I need to say my own thing before I can let my wife continue making her point. But go on, Jeff.
Was the favorite dumping ground for the Biden administration. Whenever they wanted something to be released to the media that didn't have any fingerprints on it, they would release it to Axios. And it's sort of upsetting that that's what the
left-leaning Alex Thompson is a right-wing hack. And of course, even then, we've talked, was it Moran who was doing that interview from Axios about Donald Trump, and even he was parroting Trump administration talking points instead of actually questioning whether or not the facts coming from the administration are factual or not.
Have any fingerprints on it, they would release it to Axios.
Let's see, would I be weird? Would it be weird if I wore a white satin chemise around the house? If you did, I don't think it would be weird at all.
Oh my! That's what the Trump administration did as well. So obviously, it's a way for them to get the information out without any names attached to it. But obviously, it was accurate because they didn't deny the memo.
So it came out with no signature, no date. So no one's taking responsibility for it. Okay. So now I want to explain to y'all how this works, okay? Because this is not just about 15 and 16-year-olds and, they're barely legal.
It's not just about 15 or 16-year-olds. If it was about just 15 and 16-year-olds, would it be okay there, Mimi Cruer? Ugh.
And, they're barely legal, but they're with these men. And no, okay, that's not what's going on here. So you have different levels of child trafficking and pedophilia. Okay, you've got the people who like to hang around in close proximity to children, teachers, sports coaches, pediatricians, child protective services, foster care. That's the first. Okay, then you have the cartel.
Okay, let's just. She is a crazy wackadoodle. This is the same woman who didn't know that that the word well-regulated was not in well-regulated militia was. She didn't realize that was in the Bill of Rights. She's that dumb. Anyway, but yeah, she is a wackaloon. But let's continue.
And there's a satanic element to that. And all you got to do is Google Bukele of El Salvador. He explains his whole thing to Tucker Carlson. They're satanic. MS-13. Okay? They do child rituals.
Let's see. How do you get from teacher, pediatrician to cartels? Very carefully. Exactly. She's not. She is an absolute nutball. I mean, I don't know which one is more nuttier, the one that said marrying Jeff would be a good idea or the one that says marrying Mimi would be a good idea. I mean, maybe they just belong together because, but still. I mean, can you imagine how boring that sex must be? Ugh.
Then you have the next level where you're having high-level people who are bribed. They walk into a situation, they get enamored because I'm hanging out with this guy who knows Ehud Barak, who knows now it's the Clintons over here, now it's this one, it's that one, all these movers and shakers, they get bribed. Okay, there's that. We all know that. Then you got the elite. The elite. I'm talking royal family. I'm talking
heads of state, people that are at the top. Right.
Presidents, you name it, they're there. Those people,
people like Prince Andrew, Ehud Barak, and Bill Clinton.
Prince Charles, the Queen.
Well, there's no client list, so Prince Charles must not be on the list, right?
Okay, there's a picture of the Queen with Ghislaine and Epstein.
I mean, I'm having a lot of joy making fun of these folks, but I probably could use some more. Anyway, let's continue.
Okay, so I don't want to hear it. All right, y'all are going to get it, and you're not going to like it because the world is not the place you think it is. So then you have those people. Those people aren't bribed. Those people are in a cult. It's a satanic ritual.
Those people are in a cult. If that's not the pot calling the kettle black, I don't know what is.
ritual cult. They do things to children that you cannot imagine. Okay? They do all kinds of things. There's a whole underground society that just gives birth to kids. Sometimes it's the kids giving birth to the kids. They don't register these are ghost children. They don't register these children.
They're ghost children? So, wait, they're dead too? Well, are we going to start talking about Pizzagate now?
Ritual cult. They do things to children that you cannot imagine. Okay? They do all kinds of things. There's a whole underground society that just gives birth to kids.
Wait, so they, I can't imagine, but you can? I don't know, that makes me wonder about you there.
Don't register these children with the government. Those children are to be sacrificed. It's just that bad. Okay, like Jimmy Savile was best friends. He's a popular entertainer, sort of like England's Johnny Carson. He's best friends with Prince Charles. The dude was arrested for child molesting hundreds of British kids. Hundreds.
Right.
And he's best friends with Charles. Okay.
Did he ever walk into the Miss Teen USA pageant and with into the room with Donald Trump, and he invaded in and to go see the young girls being in their states of undress?
Okay, I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to like it, but it's true. Okay, because I've seen there are victims who have come out with their testimonials. Not to mention there was one that went before Congress and had an FBI agent helping her. Okay, President Ford.
This woman's impeccable living. This woman's voice makes me want to jump into traffic. Again, as I said, I couldn't imagine being married to that, let alone whatever. But I mean, I know impeccable living would not be able to imagine her in bed either, just simply because of the fact that, clearly not his type. But anyway, can you imagine that? Oh, Jeff.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to like it, but it's true. Okay, because I've seen there are victims. We know about the Clintons. The Clintons led a child trafficking effort out of Haiti when they went down there to help the poor Haitians after the earthquake. The woman who was doing it was trafficking out of an orphanage. She got busted. She went to jail.
And again, what does Jeffrey Epstein have to do with all these other conspiracy theories? But maybe let's tie that all up in another nice bow and not ramble on with all this crap. Again, I haven't listened to all this. I didn't have the time to break up all these clips into, so we're just going to have to muddle through.
They had Obama, in the WikiLeaks that were released on Hillary, there is a email that describes that he ordered $65,000 worth of pizza and hot dogs for a party at the White House.
Right.
It's not pizza and hot dogs. It's children, okay? Pizza stands for...
Again, Pizzagate, as I said, I knew she was going to go there because I know them very well when it comes to just what they talk about.
And a hot dog is an older boy. Okay, I'm just saying.
Yes, we're back to the Clintons, exactly, because she's not gonna let you. She's probably still on the Trump train. This one's probably not. Jeff has been critical of Jeff has been critical of the Trump administration for a while now for not releasing the Epstein list and the Epstein files that he said that they promised to release.
And a hot dog is an older boy. Okay, I'm just saying. All right, then.
All right. So how does all this connect to Epstein?
Even Jeff is like, move on with it, woman. Give us the how this is all tied up in a nice little bow for us. Even he is like, come on, wife, do better.
Okay, so they're all with Epstein. They're all, and if it's not Epstein, then there was others like Diddy. Okay, because Epstein is not. He didn't appear in a vacuum. You've got like
right.
this.
Well, he appeared in a vacuum, or he appeared with Trump. That's for sure.
Hector Island.
So, what do you make of the fact that they're not willing to release the client list and they're not willing to prosecute anybody?
Okay, so Alex Acosta, who was the head of the Southern Division Attorney General, when Epstein was arrested the first time, Acosta was told, you need to make it go away because he's intelligent.
Right.
So then he comes with this plea deal, and Epstein gets this sweetheart deal where he doesn't have to spend his days in jail. He can go to work, go to his house, get his massages. He has hired 2 of the police officers. He says, y'all have to wear suits. You can't take me to work in your cop uniform. And so he gets that 1 year in jail, okay? He was there because he was trafficking high school girls, and he was getting the high school girls to bring their friends. And it just kept growing and growing like a Ponzi scheme.
What's interesting about this is this deal...
Exactly. Who was here? Who was there when Epstein got the deal? And when did Epstein die in prison? August 10th, 2019. Who was president August 10th, 2019?
And Alex Acosta wound up getting appointed to be Trump's labor secretary in the first term. And then in an expose about him, the Miami Herald did a story about Epstein and revealed all of this again. And then they decided, well, we better...
Impeccable living. People like this don't have sex. They do the horizontal monster mash. They did the mash. They did the monster mash. The monster mash. It was a big gross splash. Although I don't know if there's a splash that goes on, because at least Ben Shapiro's wife, you know, we all know how Ben Shapiro was like. If you have a WAP, that somehow that means that you're not that something is wrong. Apparently, if you get your wife excited, that's something bad.
And Alex Acosta wound up getting appointed to be Trump's labor secretary in the first term. And then in an expose about him, the Miami Herald did a story about Epstein and revealed all of this again. And then they decided, well, we better prosecute Epstein, and Alex Acosta, you better leave as labor secretary. So he got kicked out as labor secretary, and then they decided to...
I'm surprised Mimi isn't like, well, he was labor secretary, so the labor he was talking about was the children who were giving birth to ghost kids. Whatever. Anyway.
So Trump arrests Epstein, and he comes out with Alex Acosta, announces his arrest, Epstein, and then immediately in front of the press, Alex resigns and heads on out to Marine One. Okay, so now we've got that done. Then he goes...
All this, you know, work that Mimi has done on compiling all this information. You should be really impressed with her, shouldn't you?
To the the Fed in New York City. That's where he is. He gets arrested flying on his private jet back from Paris. He's in jail, and he's murdered. Okay, but it's suicide according to the memo. And so Bill.
Well, again, now you know at least she disagrees with the Trump administration on his cause of death, right?
Bill Barr is as dirty as they come when it comes to Epstein. Right. Bill Barr's father was the head of the Dalton School for Boys in New York City. It's a $50,000 a year place. You have to put your kid on a waiting list like the minute they're born. Okay, it's that big. He hires Jeffrey Epstein with no college degree to teach math. Okay, so that's Bill Barr's father. So Bill Barr knew Epstein, and Bill Barr covered up this whole thing. This whole thing by saying he committed suicide.
And just to chime in here, he's the one who said in the beginning it was suicide. They said back then that, you know, all the video cameras were not working. The video that they released the other day with a minute missing that they claim was, every hour had a minute missing, supposedly. But that wasn't even of the wing of the jail that Epstein was in. That was in.
So again, Jeff seems to be more closer to getting there than his wife is. But had to go look this up real quick. According to NPR, a young Jeffrey Epstein made an impression on his high school students. Most former Dalton School students agree on at least one thing. I thought she said Dolphin School, not Dalton School. Most former Dalton School students agree on at least one thing. Jeffrey Epstein was charismatic. If you had him as a teacher, then you would have liked him too, says Eve Lubin, who was Epstein's student during his brief tenure as a teacher in the mid-'70s. The Dalton School, where he taught, is a private school in Manhattan with a reputation for attracting talented students with affluent parents. Decades later, Epstein is known for having friends in high places, blah, 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 blah. Beyond charisma, former students paint divergent portraits of the young soon-to-be financier. Some remember a skilled educator, intelligent, quick-witted. Others recall a too young teacher who was smarmy, unqualified, and casually social with students. Several former students told NPR that they remember seeing Epstein surrounded by female students at Dalton, though none recalled any incidents of misconduct. It was just kind of a general circle of girls. There was a young, mild sense of creepiness, says Carrie Lawrence, also in the class of 76. When you had a faculty member that girls were paying attention to, it was somewhat disconcerting. But Schuer Lubin, who was Epstein's student for 3 years, remembers it differently. He didn't touch girls or anything. They all hung around him because he was handsome in his sleazy polyester pants. Today, Epstein is the center, blah, 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 blah. So, but again, here's the thing. He may very well have done nothing bad as a teacher at this Dalton school. But again, because this administration is not doing what they promised they would do, now you're giving credence to all of these conspiracy theorists that all of this other crap must be true too. So you are, by not releasing this information, you're enabling the crazies to be more crazy and say, this is proof that my craziness is correct. Let's continue.
That was in a whole nother wing of the prison. So it was a meaningless videotape that they released.
Well, the point of the tape, and it's down, you have to go and look down in the slats of the railing. And you can see, supposedly, it's Epstein walking back to his cell with the cup. But his cell is out of view. So anyway, you're right. It was a useless thing. So now we've got that he killed himself and he acted alone. Well, that means there's no client. So if there's no client, why was he arrested? Why is Ghislaine in jail? There's no client.
Now, see, I hate this even more. I hate this even more now. Why? Because if you make me have to agree with Mimi Cruer on something, I'm not happy. Do not make me have to agree with Mimi Cruer, because I just said minutes ago, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison if there's no client list? There's no client list, there's no clients, therefore there's no crime. Or how do you prove the crime? Don't make me have to agree with frickin' Mimi Cruer. That pisses me off.
Cell with the cup, but his cell is out of view. So anyway, you're right. It was a useless thing. So now we've got that he killed himself and he acted alone. Well, that means there's no client. So if there's no client, why was he arrested? Why is Ghislaine in jail? There's no client. There's nothing. Case closed. Okay.
And let me just chime in. Ghislaine says that he would never have committed suicide. Ghislaine.
Well, I mean, clearly now, why would he? Because there was no crime done. There's no client list, right? Trump at every game. How in the world does she get important pieces of information right and then still not be able to reason from A to B? Because Donald Trump said he loved the poorly educated after the 2016 Nevada primaries, and as such, all of his supporters continue to try and prove themselves worthy of that love every single day. Simple as that. And the reason, Roxanne, that we're talking about this and we're not going to move on from this yet is because that's basically what this show is going to be about. The show is going to be about, or is about, the MAGA folks. You know, how MAGA folks are how close are some MAGA folks coming to the realization, or are they going to get to that point where they come to the realization that, oh, maybe the reason that Donald Trump isn't releasing this list of people is not because the list doesn't exist, but because he's on it. But we also like to expose conservative hypocrisy on this show all the time. So you have many examples of conservatives being hypocritical here as well.
His brother and his lawyer all say he did not commit suicide. You know who else said that? Famed pathologist, forensic pathologist, Michael Vaughn, who was hired by the brother of Jeffrey Epstein. He said the injuries are not consistent with a suicide. It's consistent with a homicide. All of that is just what...
Bones.
And, you know, someone else even more important than all that said that Jeffrey Epstein didn't commit suicide. Me. Anyway, just kidding. I mean, I did say that, but I don't think I'm more important than other people. But I just, you know.
Okay, now everyone's freaking out. Well, Trump didn't release it because he's in them. Yes, he is in them. He knew.
What? Again, as I said, I did not listen to this when I started listening. Let's repeat that again.
Homicide. All of that is just what conveniently overlooked.
Yes. Okay. Now everyone's freaking out. Well, Trump didn't release it because he's in them. Yes, he is in them. He knew Epstein very well. Epstein knew everyone, the movers and shakers of New York City, the elites of New York City, because he was always trying to get money. He was always trying to recruit these people.
This woman's voice is a human rights violation, says impeccable. You're not going to get any disagreement with me on there. I mean, I wish... She used to have a former co-host who will go on Jeff's show, I think, Tuesday mornings, I want to say it is. I don't listen to him as much in the summer because I don't have to drive my kid to school. That being said, she would have been a much better voice to do a radio show with. But, I mean, I guess he didn't fall for that one. And that one probably has better options anyway than Mimi.
Any party. Trump was on the plane. But same as RFK Jr., they just hitched a ride from New York to West Palm Beach.
They just hitched a ride. Now look, we're not talking about the flight logs. We're talking about the client list. That's the thing. Roll back. Fox News asked about the client list, and again, Pam Bondi said that she has it on her desk, and now she's saying the client list doesn't exist. So this isn't talking about the flight logs. It's very well possible that there are people who are in the flight logs who might not have committed any crimes. Because what if Jeffrey Epstein used his horrible island for a couple of good things a year? Like maybe he had a charity fundraiser that had nothing to do with the trafficking of people, of humans and children for nefarious purposes. So if you went to one of those on the plane, you had no idea who Jeffrey Epstein is. I mean, I didn't know who he was until he was arrested. So, I mean, maybe other people might not have known who he was either and what nefarious things he might have been connected to. So I'm not going to sit here and judge everybody who's on a flight log who may have taken the airplane for whatever reason, especially if you can connect other events to it that have nothing to do with trafficking. But a client list is a completely different matter altogether. Client list means you were his client. Therefore, what type of client? We all know what type of client, and that's what people are trying to see the list for.
They went back and forth there. He's in the file. That's why he's in the file. I'm going to tell you what Trump did. When the victims came forward and they were suing, okay, Trump contacted their attorney, and he voluntarily said, I want to talk to you.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you everything. And so that's why he's in the...
I don't believe that at all, but go on.
That's why he's in the file. And Trump had him arrested. And when he was arrested...
Trump had him arrested and then made sure he wasn't protected neither, right?
Attorneys and said, I'm going to talk to you. Trump had had him kicked out of Mar-a-Lago for being inappropriate with one of the things.
With one of the what?
The thing.
All that is true. All that is true. So why would Trump be so angry that the question was raised yesterday in the press conference?
Okay. So
Jeff Crouere, maybe with one of the best questions he's ever asked anybody in his life. I think he's closer than his wife on this one, but we'll continue.
The way they roll
hold that thought.
Jeff, who names a girl Jiz? I think it's Ghislaine. I don't think it's Ghislaine, but I mean it looks like Ghislaine. But
69696 is our talk clients. She said right here on WTS.
All right, we need to skip over commercials because they'll play stuff that we don't want to hear that might get me copyright flagged.
He did, and so.
All right.
And I'm Amy Crouere.
And right at the break, we were talking about Trump getting angry that the question was raised by the reporter.
They might as well have named her Jism. Just name her Cumstain Maxwell.
Everything positive. And the reporter was saying, hey, what's going on? Why was, the list not revealed? And did Epstein have any intelligence connections? Because that's what originally Alex Acosta...
Well, if he's connected to Trump, then that's not an intelligent connection right there. Anyway, let's continue.
He got angry.
He did. And so this is back...
Yes, that is on AM radio. And not only is it on AM radio, I think the other problem with this is that I think he's calling in. I think she might be from the studio. I think he's calling in from like the car or something or whatever, because his audio is worse than hers, although her audio is bad simply because it's her voice. Let's continue.
Back to Sunday, when it got leaked to the Axios. It gets leaked. They all knew what their conclusion was. I don't think they all got together and said, "This is our conclusion. This is how we're going to present it to the media and to the." 250
kilo, just lying like giggity. Anyway.
So now everybody's coming out like duh, and guess who lands? So they leak the memo, and guess who's landing right when they leak it? Bibi Netanyahu. And Israel is behind this whole damn thing.
Oh my God. Israel is now behind this whole damn thing? What? Israel is behind it? I mean, I don't support the actions of Israel when it comes to, how they responded to 10/7. I mean, responding to 10/7 was reasonable if they would have done it reasonably. How they responded to 10/7, Netanyahu, no. But it's all Israel's fault now? What? I mean, Jeff doesn't believe that, the alligator Dachau is a concentration camp. He got all mad about that the other day, but anyway.
This is what they do. They're like blackmail specialists. Them and the CIA, okay? So what they do.
So the Shin Bet or whatever is and the CIA are good at blackmail, yeah, but that means that Israel, the Israeli government, Netanyahu is somehow behind this. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. If it came out that Netanyahu was behind it, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, it's something else that he would want to make sure, got covered up because that's what he likes to do. That being said, again, as A Church at Every Game says, how does she make that tenuous link? Again, it doesn't make any sense. They're trafficking all the Palestinians. Yeah, there would be many more Palestinian kids if Netanyahu was responsible for any of this. He would probably be less worried about bombing kids and more likely about trying to get them out of Gaza for other reasons.
No, I think so. So then the next
impeccable living. I'm all about a blackmail special, but that means something different to me.
Oh my!
Anyway,
and out of nowhere, he's like, "Here, Mr. President, I've nominated you for a Nobel Peace Prize."
Right.
Okay. Okay. Then Trump had gone to NATO, and they folded over with they were tripping over themselves to give him what he wanted by upping the percentage of what they pay for NATO. And it was just like, it wasn't just that they flipped. It was, "It's our pleasure, Mr. President. You are the best thing ever." And then he goes to Saudi Arabia.
They actually called him Daddy. Daddy.
They called him Daddy. Right. And then he goes to the
wait, did Netanyahu called him Daddy or something? I mean, Netanyahu would call him Abba, which is the Hebrew word for father, but anyway.
States, and they're tripping all over him, throwing money and airplanes and this and that at him. What you need to know is when Epstein was raided, he had a passport, okay? It was from Austria. His address in the passport was in Saudi Arabia. At that time,
how does that mean that Israel's involved? If he had from one country and then an address in another country, how does that involve Israel? I mean, while I'll say this, while them refusing to release the information absolutely gives ammunition to the conspiracy theorists to continue pushing their insane conspiracy theories, I don't know how that one, I don't know how you dot that I, cross that T, or do whatever.
Khashoggi was running guns. That's the Iran-Contra thing, okay? Khashoggi and Epstein were close. Okay, so you see? So I think, and this is what is also like other people are speculating, it's just a speculation right now, but that he's taken the information and he's turned it on them in order to do things like stop wars, try to do the tariffs, try to get NATO in line. He's trying to do all this stuff.
I understand, but if that is the case, there's a price to be paid for that. And the price to be paid for that is that the promises that were made to the American people are not being fulfilled.
Yeah, the promises are not being fulfilled. Do you imagine, like, I'm just sitting here imagining Mimi Cruer. I'm imagining that this is her at night. Like, Jeff's like, come on, honey, let's go to bed. Let's have some romantic time. And Mimi Cruer is just like this. Just like, no, I have to put more lines up on my board to be able to figure it out. I should Photoshop Mimi Cruer's face onto this and basically be like, this is what Mimi Cruer does every night while trying to come up with her insane, bizarre conspiracy theories.
And the American people are now seeing another cover-up. That's the price.
Well, and they could be, we don't know if they're being fulfilled or not because they're not being transparent. And I think that Trump had a really bad reaction. And you can see that when he interrupted because the question was levied at Bondi. Okay, he jumped in there and said, "What? We're wasting our time on this again?"
Because he doesn't want Bondi to say the wrong thing and get him in trouble because, at least in my opinion, because I don't want to have Donald Trump sue me and saying that I'm saying a fact. I'm saying my opinion because I'm not going to be like CBS and settle for some BS amount because I want to get my, deal approved, my merger approved or whatever. But yeah, we have to make sure to say, in my opinion, I believe that the reason why Trump would not want this release is because, in my opinion, he's on the list. Or some other bullshit thing you have to say to cover your own ass, right?
We're wasting our time on this again.
He called him a creep. Yeah.
Yeah, he called Epstein a creep. That's correct.
Right.
So
yeah,
you just have to know, like Ehud Barak, who was the former prime minister, he practically lived in Epstein's New York mansion. Okay.
Well, so did Prince Andrew. Was like a bosom buddy. And let's go down the list. Who else was friends with him? A guy named Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates. And all these Bill Clinton, all these people that say, "Oh, we barely knew him," right? Yeah. How many times was Bill Clinton on the Lolita Express? Dozens of times.
Over 20-something times.
Right.
Let's delve into Bill Clinton with Epstein. Kevin Spacey went on Piers Morgan and he said they went on the Lolita Express to South Africa, and there were young girls on the plane. The plane has a bedroom. I'm going to stop there. Use your imagination. Clinton.
I don't want to use my imagination on that, but hey, whatever.
Clinton was with them. They go to South Africa. They're at a restaurant/bar, and he has a female handler. This is how he gets the girl. So she goes over and starts making conversation with this girl. Her name is Juliet. She's a victim, and they offer her. They're scouting her for modeling. So they're like, come back the next day. It's Victoria's Secret. So she goes in for the modeling interview, and it's Bill Clinton at a modeling interview, and it's Jeffrey Epstein and whoever the heck else. So now she's getting honeypotted with this promise of a Victoria's Secret modeling job. The Victoria's Secret is connected to the owner, the billionaire, Les Wexner. Les Wexner owns the Limited, Express, Abercrombie and Fitch, Hollister, you name it, okay? That dude signs power of attorney over to Epstein, and Epstein has control of this man's billion-dollar fortune, okay? It's weird. So then you'll see that Victoria's Secret is now...
I mean, this is just like at this point with me, this is just like kind of like I'm just staring at the train wreck, and I know I shouldn't watch the trains collide. I should do something else, but you just can't help but just stare at it and watch it because it's just such a train wreck at this point.
Okay, so that's how they got the girls and everything. Bill Clinton, there is a portrait. He was so close to Epstein. There is a portrait of...
Wait, Impeccable Living. Wait, there's a portrait of Bill Clinton that they're so close? But, there's pictures of Donald Trump with Epstein as well. But, wait. The lighting is homophobic.
Oh, my.
Let's see. Images. I think this image has to come up while she's talking about the portrait of Bill Clinton or whatever. Right? We don't need to hear about the ad or the sale or whatever.
Close to Epstein. There is a portrait of Bill Clinton
in a blue dress.
Right. In the blue dress with the red shoes. Red shoes mean something. Okay? And he's in there pointing at him.
Right. Yeah, and that's an infamous picture. Yes.
Right. So the whole thing is disgusting. You know, and
the bottom line is back to today. Back to today. Bottom line is that they're claiming nothing to see here. They're claiming there's no client list. So nobody is going to be prosecuted for these crimes that were committed against these girls. The only one who's been prosecuted is Ghislaine Maxwell, who Tucker Carlson was apologizing for the other day. He goes,
well, we're going to get to that one in a second. Hold on. But apparently, you know, is there any other conversation that these people have about this thing, or is it just conspiracy theory?
Email us at jeff@wgso.com. So many different aspects to this, Mimi.
Wait, you can't email Mimi?
You know, what's gone on in the past, the implications, the political maneuvering, the stonewalling, the cover-up. You know, we all thought that when President Trump was elected, we were going to have transparency and truth. We were going to have all these files released. And I think there's just some disappointment out there. You said online some people were really getting upset and saying they're done with President Trump. Is that right? Did you see that online?
I have seen people taking their Trump gear and throwing it away. Now, and let me say this. We're not talking about, everybody's very upset about.
Now, of course, there are going to be some people who are going to be like, those are not really Trump supporters. Those are people who are just fake Trump supporters burning their stuff, blah, 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 because, you know, the no true Scotsman fallacy. And, of course, anyway.
About the floods, which we're going to talk about soon. But all of those young girls who died needlessly. Okay, we're talking millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of children here. That's what we're talking about.
1 billion children.
It's not okay. And it's run by the deep state. You want to take the deep state out? Well, take away their black, dark money. They make money off of this. The CIA does. So it's sort of like, you know.
How do you even have a conversation with this person about anything if she can't keep a conspiracy theory out of her mouth for 5 seconds? Unless he nicknamed a certain body part of his conspiracy theory.
This is what I want, okay? The victims, they sued, and Epstein's estate, they put together Epstein victims compensation. 225 victims applied, and then 150 got vetted out that were deemed legitimate.
Me too. Like sometimes churches are like, I thought she was going to go into an anti-Citizens United rant when talking about dark money. Yeah. No, I was wondering where is she going to go with that too. Well, that also popped into my head, but I'm just like, no, it's not that. Never think that she's going to actually come into a cogent, logical point. She'll start looking like she's going there, and then like, phew, squirrel.
That were deemed legitimate. 125 million. I want the files from that. I want the files from Ghislaine. She has a black book. It's got 2,000 names in it. The judge put it under seal. You know. Is there
really a black book? I mean, the Trump administration would probably say there's no black book either, right?
The Island of St. Thomas, their attorney general, she sued the banks that were money laundering on behalf of Epstein.
And you know,
I want those files.
They had all that information that they got from his house down there, boxes and boxes and boxes, supposedly are lost now. Supposedly evidence is either missing.
They're probably at Mar-a-Lago with the rest of the files that he hid from the classified documents.
It's a frustrating situation. Let's see. We got some other topics to get to, but we'll squeeze in a call and then get to some of these other ones. 504-55.
Let me see. Wait, I want to see who this call is going to be. This call, maybe it's going to be Matthew from Metairie. Maybe it'll be Matthew, or maybe it will be the hello Jeff, that one from I think Indiana. Maybe, I don't know, or maybe it'll be Cowboy. Let's see. I could be wrong. It could be somebody completely different, but my money is on one of those three.
504-556-9696 to check in. Our friend from the Gem State joining us. Paul is with us. Paul, how are you? Good evening. Welcome. Hey.
Hey, how are you, Jeff and Amy?
Hey, we're good.
Yeah, Jeff, it ain't murder when it's war. You know, and we should have took China out right when they.
This week's Words of Redneck Wisdom brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio.
The acts of war on us. They did a lot of acts of war. So I believe individually we could declare war because they're after us, you know. I ain't going to go looking for somebody that, you know, I'll stand up for my country and stuff, you know. And Elon, he's an idiot, you know. Trump made him popular, and pushed on Trump.
Trump made Elon popular, but he's an idiot, and that has to do with the whole Epstein thing. What now? This is why they actually need a call screener sometimes, because they'll say open lines, everything you want to talk about is fair game, but they're sitting there talking about Epstein, and he's like, China and Musk.
Trump made him popular, and pushed on Trump, you know. I know Trump has a beautiful woman. He don't need no nothing else. He has all kinds of beautiful women.
Trump has all kinds of beautiful women. He don't need, but that doesn't. See, that's the thing. That's one of the things that people don't understand about sexual abuse, sexual assault, rape, etc. What they don't understand about that is it's not about that he could have a beautiful woman. It's not about that his money could get him whatever he wants. It's that they want what they can't have, and they want to exert power over people. I'm not going to say that every single circumstance of sexual assault, sexual abuse, rape, or whatever is always only about power. There's some circumstances where it's people who just don't understand consent, and they're scumbags and just think that they can, you know, get whatever they want because they want to get their rocks off. But there's other people, it's they feel entitled to whatever it is that they want, and if they can't have it, they want it more. So if the law is saying you can't have it because it's illegal, then they're going to want to try and find a way to still get it anyway. That's what these sick, twisted weirdos believe. So it doesn't matter that Trump could have 100,000 consensual sex partners. It's, the thought is even disgusting just to think about it, but that wouldn't mean that he wouldn't then go up and grab somebody by the hoo-ha, as he said he does.
So, yeah, Elon is sort of now trying to get another party started. He's going to have a hard time. And, you know,
let's get this party started right.
So we'll see where that goes. He just lost his CEO of X, who just resigned because Grok went another scandal.
Let's skip ahead.
But, all right, my
new caller. Let's get a new caller.
He lost CEOs from Tesla, too. He lost...
genius of Elon Musk, and you know he believes it tests the waters and then decide to.
I don't know. I can't read him. I don't know what's going on with Elon, but you know what I do know? I do know he's pictured with Ghislaine Maxwell. I do. Yeah.
And as we've sitting here, so Trump is pictured with Ghislaine Maxwell. Trump's pictured with Jeffrey Epstein. Trump's pictured with all these people. So I guess that means, according to Mimi Carrera's logic, she's automatically guilty, right? But she'll make some excuse for that, right?
Part of all that. So, you know, I don't know. You know, Elon's going through something. I don't know if he's going through...
If they screwed out all the crazies, they'd have no callers left. No, they'd have me, because I do call into Jeff's show from time to time. That being said, at least you could get crazy people talking about the topic at hand instead of, you know, because, you know, when I'll have open lines and talk about everything, but there'll be certain times where I'll be like, I want people to call in and talk about this, but I'll trust y'all will do it and talk about the topic I want to talk about. But other times I'll be like, fine, open line, fair game. But clearly in this particular circumstance, why are they calling and talking about anything else other than Epstein when he's been talking about this for the last half hour or so?
You know, Elon's going through something. I don't know if he's going through menopause. I can't tell you. But
right.
He's
menopause.
He's clearly going through something. Miranda Devine from the New York Post interviewed Susie Wild, and she asked about him. And she says, I don't know what happened to him. It's unfortunate. Trump was so kind to him. And Elon knew so much about stuff we didn't know about AI and this and that. And we do need to get on top of AI because it's coming and it's gonna take all our jobs, people. And
so that's a whole nother issue, and I've had many guests talking about that, and that is a very, very big issue. As far as this goes, it'll be interesting to see what's going to be happening here. Marjorie Taylor Greene earlier today was on the War Room saying she's determined to strip the defense budget and prioritize on U.S. interests. Doesn't like the fact that our weapons are going to be going to Ukraine, so we made another deal to send more weapons to Ukraine. So there you go. But let's talk about the floods and what's going on.
Oh, they're talking about the floods now. Okay, so we're not gonna have to worry about that. Oh, we already have that clip down there, don't we? Hold on. We're being asked to bid if there is a call that I called in. There should be one. Is this one that I called in on? Let's see.
Our friend who calls in with the handle Liberal Dan joining us. Good morning, sir. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. Yeah, so, Hamas...
All right, hold on.
Our friend
in Qatar, the leaders, since they supported the 2000...
Michelle is the person who used to do a podcast with Mimi before Jeff and Mimi got married. Anyway, let's continue.
At least since 2007, the takeover of Gaza by Hamas. They've been supporting them even more since 2012. Their headquarters, or like main headquarters, are located in Qatar. The leaders may have most recently left, I think, supposedly in November, but the office is still there. The Trump organization under...
You're calling it Qatar? I've heard it's called Qatar. I mean, what is the correct pronunciation?
I think Qatar might be a more European pronunciation of it. I looked it up and I looked it up last night, actually, just to make sure I was having the pronunciation correct. But regardless of how we want to pronounce things, the Trump organization is working with two companies, one of them Saudi, one of them Qatar-based, and the Qatar one is controlled by the Qatar government in order to open up a nice big resort in Qatar. Golf course, stuff like that. Hotels or whatever, villas or whatever it is that they're putting out there. So why would I then not believe that this airplane deal is not a quid pro quo type situation? And even if it wasn't, if any other president, especially like Obama, Biden, Clinton, or whatever, had accepted an Air Force One, a luxury palace refitted Air Force One for them to use, that would then be transferred to their presidential libraries, y'all would be throwing a fit. Y'all would be.
Well, I don't know. I mean, do you know that for a fact that it's going to be transferred to the library? Because I thought it was being gifted to the Defense Department.
Right.
Initially, it's going to be supposedly gifted to the quotes, to the Defense Department, but afterwards, it's saying they're saying that it's then being transferred to the Trump Presidential Library. But it's not going to be sitting there in a building. It's going to be an airplane that will be available for use for President Trump after this term. But even
he said he's not going to use it for his personal use.
Even if it was going to only be controlled by our Air Force, and then
right.
just put in mothballs in this presidential library, they now have to take this airplane and they're going to have to sweep it entirely to make sure that there's no bugs or no anything wrong that was put in there by the government that supports Hamas, and then add additional stuff that Air Force One needs in order to.
Wasn't it made by Boeing though? Isn't it a Boeing jet?
It was made by Boeing, but it was made by Boeing for the Qatar government. If we were to have an airplane that was made by Boeing to be Air Force One, it would be built directly that way.
But the problem is we can't get Boeing to build Air Force One. They're late on delivering Air Force One. That's the problem here.
And it's like, what is it, $400 billion or $40 billion or something like that, and it's saving our government money?
But even if there's nothing wrong with it, I mean, we're still spending that money on those two other planes, and we'll need them because the plane's supposed to be going to the Trump library.
What this is going to do is allow them to use a plane that is 27 years younger than Air Force One is 40 years old.
It's younger, so therefore Jeffrey Epstein might like it, right?
And, I think at some point you have to worry about that. And this plane is only 13 years old from what I understand. So,
which means Jeffrey Epstein and Trump are really going to like it if the plane's only 13. Maybe that's the reason why that they want the plane, not because of that it's going to be a flying palace, but it's, the age.
You're getting something that is much newer and I would assume safer for the president to use.
And do we really believe that it would be, quote, safer if we were making, oh, this is going to be safer argument if it was Biden or Obama or Clinton doing this? No, you would be giving them the third degree, and y'all would be saying that this is ridiculous, it's a waste of money, because now we got to take the money and now go refit it to be able to handle all of the things that Air Force One needs. How is that efficiency?
Right.
And if it ends up going to...
Anyway, ask and you shall receive about clips with Donald Trump, although I did want to try and pull out the other one that I made
with us. Good morning, sir. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning, Jeff. First and foremost, today's my 18th wedding anniversary, so happy anniversary to my wife. Just proof that, she doesn't always make the best decisions. Anyway, so...
Happy anniversary to you and Mrs. Liberal Dan. Happy anniversary.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was away last week. I was on vacation with the family, and lots of things going on last week. I mean, you had... all the stuff about the opening of that tent prison or whatever you want to call it in Florida, and you had Laura Loomer, Trump ally Laura Loomer, who said that it would provide 65 million meals to the alligators around the camp. 65 million is the number of Hispanic people in this country. It's not the number of people who are here in violation of our border policy. It's not the total number of people who are seeking asylum. It's not the people. It's everybody in this country who is a citizen, who is not a citizen, who is here legally, who is not. And I think it's rather deplorable to even make any sort of comment like that. That this is going to be used to feed alligators all of the Hispanic people. That's some Nazi stuff right there. And I haven't heard Trump talk about, his Trump ally. I haven't heard Trump say anything about that, although the GOP in Florida is making T-shirts about this, prison, concentration camp, whatever.
Wait, how are you calling it a concentration camp? I saw a video of it. It looks like they've got air conditioning. I mean, it looks like they have these better facilities than many jails in the country.
This is where Jeff Carrera goes completely off the rails, by the way. And they mentioned Laura Loomer, so I had to bring up Laura Loomer's tweet about Pam Bondi. We'll get to that in a second.
Increased and it becomes scattered midday. And
I went back to the wrong part. Oh, well. Let's see.
I haven't heard Trump talk about, his Trump ally. I haven't heard Trump say anything about it being open air.
Than the typical, prison around the country. They have higher standards.
So compared to some of the, like Angola, compared to some of the prisons around the country, that's not glowing praise. But I mean, you're taking people and you're putting them there off into this area. I've done my research. People who are calling it alligator Auschwitz is not right. It's more like alligator Dachau. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, though, is Donald Trump.
Oh, come on.
I've told you several
people
times.
People are being gassed. Come on.
People weren't being
killed there.
When Dachau wasn't open, people weren't gassed there either. And we're trying to make sure that we don't get there. We're trying to make sure that we don't get to 1940s Germany.
Okay.
We're trying to make sure
are there any examples of any of these people being killed while they're being incarcerated without due process?
Dachau was not initially a death camp. Go look up what Dachau was used
okay.
first.
So you're comparing this administration with Hitler? Little Dan, let me say this, and I thank you for your call. That's absolutely outrageous.
Anyway, yeah, he didn't like the fact that I was comparing it to that. I couldn't even get to the whole thing where whatchamacallit, where Trump used the term Shylock. That was what I wanted to get to and call in about, but I got him too pissed off about that whole thing with calling it a concentration camp, even though it doesn't, were they being killed? No, Dachau was not a death camp at first either. Dachau was just a camp for political prisoners, and then we went over that last show, but still. Yeah, these people are crazy. But let's go back to here. Laura Loomer. Pam Blondie, of course, because, you know, they can never be mature about anything, and instead of calling her by her real name, has to call her Pam Blondie, is covering up child sex crimes that took place under her watch when she was Attorney General of Florida. During Blondie's tenure as Florida Attorney General from 2011 to 2019, Epstein flight log surfaced. Many of his victims filed lawsuits, and substantial new evidence against him came to light. Has to be asked, how come Blondie's Florida Attorney General office did not pursue legal action or launch an investigation into Epstein's activities in Florida during that period when she was AG in Florida? She was afraid of that being discussed and brought to light. She needs to be fired. She has tainted the investigation. Again, making me mad, because please don't make me have to agree with Laura Loomer too. Then, of course, so these other people, some of the people who Chad was talking about earlier, I guess, who have no problem with this, leave Pam Bondi alone, have faith in Trump. He knows exactly what he's doing. Pure speculation. The Democrats destroyed most of the evidence years ago. You realize that in 6 months, Trump has done all of these things that are blah, 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 blah. Do people actually believe it wasn't destroyed in 2019? Blah, 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 blah. We know now that the truth about Epstein debacle came out. Over 8% of government officials would be desecrated. Blah, 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 blah. So there are a lot of people who are being, you know, apologists for the Trump administration still, because there definitely are enough who are not almost there on Epstein. They're still going to have Trump's back, or let Trump have their back, or whatever it is. Let's see. What else is there? What other people can we discuss about this? Oh, we got Marge Green. Oh, Large Marge, as Jeff was talking about. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's play that from the Daily Beast.
I think the Department of Justice and the FBI has more explaining to do. This is Jeffrey Epstein. This is the most famous pedophile in modern day history. And people are absolutely not going to accept just a memo that was written that says there is no client list. We have Ghislaine Maxwell is actually serving time in prison. And during her court hearings, the court ordered by request of her attorneys that her own little black book be kept private and secret, that had over 2,000 names in it of famous celebrities, world leaders, foreign leaders, and very rich businessmen. So we are not accepting the fact that there is no so-called client list or a group of people that may have been blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein, given with evidence that he had gathered on them with these horrific activities. It's just hard to swallow. And this is a man that had built.
It's hard to swallow, huh? Oh my. Anyway, let's continue.
Clinton on his plane over 26 times. Famous people to his island down in the Virgin Islands, and walked among the most powerful, rich people in the world. And he was a disgusting, prolific pedophile. And so I think it's just hard to swallow. And Ghislaine Maxwell, she wouldn't be in prison today if she wasn't doing the activities that she did, which was to go procure these minors, these young girls and young women.
Don't make me agree with frickin' MTG either. Jesus Christ, it's making me pissed off. The more and more I see conservatives have to agree with, it hurts my brain to actually hear them say correct things every once in a while, because I can't handle, it doesn't compute that that they're saying these things or whatever. Let me just hold on a second and mute myself for a second. Just needed to make sure that my wife didn't need anything, because she was soaking in the tub whilst we were doing the show. Anyway, so yeah, the Georgia Sasquatch. Here's your thing, Impeccable Living. Would you rather Mimi Cruere or MTG? Oh my. Anyway, so then of course there's old Tuckums, Tucker Carlson.
I'll speak for myself. I never thought that I would be offering an apology to Jeffrey Epstein. I think of all the times I've maligned that guy, all the times I've accused him of crimes, of blackmailing people, of trafficking children, to powerful figures around the world on behalf of global intel services. And then I learned yesterday from Attorney General Pam Bondi that's totally untrue.
Yes, yeah.
The guy killed himself after 36 days in prison for no reason. He was a billionaire. He had no clients. He'd done nothing wrong other than get like naughty massages 20 years before. And the guy killed himself, another pointless death. And then his best friend, former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, doing 20 years in prison for no crime. There are no victims.
Yes, it's a victimless crime. They're obviously persecuted by the state.
Yes.
They're political prisoners, really. It's The Hague should come in and do an investigation, or we're watching one of the most systematic government cover-ups of all time.
I'll speak.
Why are you making me agree with Tucker Carlson now? I mean, that sounds like something I would say, being sarcastic and stuff like that. Tucker Carlson even. Ugh. Wow. Just all of this, these people just, you know, again, they're flat out saying, it's on Tucker Carlson's own account, saying that this is either all of that is true or it's the most insane, you know, huge government cover-up in the history of government cover-ups. I mean, Tucker Carlson is there. What? Craziness. Then you got frickin' Elon Musk. This tweet from Elon Musk. What? Stop. Well, we want me to stop showing conservatives that make sense for once on this one particular issue. I mean, hey, if we can all come together and agree that Donald Trump is on the list and that's why it's not being released, and maybe this is enough to get enough people on board to frickin' impeach his ass, good. I don't think we're there yet, but, you know, good. Frickin' Elon Musk, we released the Epstein list. We just need more time. The Epstein list is on my desk. There's no Epstein list. Again, autism capital. What happened to this client list on my desk? What happened to Epstein Files Part 2? What happened to those magical binders? What a farce. Elon Musk goes, this is the final straw. This is the final straw. So Musk is mad about it. Of course, Musk and Trump have been feuding ever since, you know, well, even before Trump's threatened to whatever. Of course, again, there's not always not all of these people are going to sit here and agree. There are accounts out there that are still going to have his back in a very disgusting way if this other account is actually a legitimate account and not like a troll bot account. Would you support releasing the Epstein files even if it could send Republicans to prison? Yes or no? I would support it if it sent Republicans to prison. I'd support it if it sent Democrats to prison. I would support it if it sent anybody to prison, because if people are criminals, then they should be sent to prison, especially as it pertains to crimes pertaining to sex trafficking and child rape. Hey, TV2 Live, good to see you. This guy, I would say no. The future of our country is too important. It's not wonderful if Trump had sex with a lot of children, but as Christians, we need to forgive. And it's good that he is the president, yes, even if he rapes women and girls. So yes, there are clearly some people who are not there at all and will never be there because they believe it's okay. And of course, someone else responds, so you're saying if Trump raped your daughter, it would be okay with it, pat him on the back, not expect him to be punished. You would not care how much damage is done to your daughter. How will she live with that trauma the rest of her life? You understand I never said I'm okay with it. I only said that we should forgive him. If you say you should forgive him, you're okay with it. Nobody could get that forgiveness from me. Not one soul. Nobody. Not one bit. At all. None. Zip. Zero. Nada. Yeah, holy effing shit is right. It atrocious at every game. Then, of course, there's Alex Jones. Alex Jones has a video. This is just a minor clip from the whole thing, but...
I'm going to go throw up, actually. And this only happens every few years when something really, really bad happens or something. I mean, I'm physically going to puke probably right now.
Just like everybody does. Everybody's going to puke when they hear your stupid voice and, you know, your horribleness, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
My mouth is watering right now. Because I have integrity. Yeah.
He has integrity, y'all.
I just really need the Trump administration to succeed and to save this country, and they're doing so much good. And then for them to do something like this.
Are they really doing a lot of good? Are they really? And are they really doing good if this is what's the result of it? No. It's tearing up his heart. Well, there would sort of be a Backstreet Boys song, whatever. Is that Backstreet Boys, or am I wrong about that one? Was it NSYNC? Who did "Tearing Up My Heart"? NSYNC, yes. So my second guess was correct. "Tearing Up My Heart" was NSYNC and not Backstreet Boys. So he looks like Chip Roy's equally evil twin brother, pretty much. Yeah, save this country from the best economy in the whole darn world. That Joe, but yeah, damn Joe Biden, darn you for doing all that stuff. Let's see. I tried to answer your question, but YouTube will not let me post no matter how many times I try and respell or change words. So I'm guessing the answer is neither. Is that your response? Neither, or is it worse? Like you'd rather do such and such terrible things that it would, whatever. I knew the answer would be no. You'd want neither of them because my choice would be I'd rather self-yeet. To put it bluntly, I'd rather self-yeet myself from this mortal coil before having to, actually have either of those two choices. I got to it. It was NSYNC. I know. You're probably on a delay. So, yes, Impeccable Living. My answer was bad. What? You tagging yourself? What? Anyway, what else? Let's see, do we have anything else to talk about? Do we have any other clips that we wanted to play as it pertained to that? I think we're actually over the clips when it comes to that. Now, I don't know if there are any conservatives who are watching right now or whatever. I know we lost Chad earlier because Chad got mad at what Big Hook said, but I do have some stuff I have to do tonight, so I'm not going to stay on much longer. So this is definitely not a day for a 30-minute Big Hook call, but you can call in for a few minutes Big Hook still if you want to call in. I'm fine with it. 562-LIBDAN1, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261. If you wish to call in and chat about stuff, it's fine. We'll give it a few minutes. Again, Big Hook, you want to call in. We'll take at least a few minutes of you. I have a couple things I have to do tonight, so we're not staying on too much longer. But I did want to give some people the opportunity to go ahead and call in if you so desired. So, yes, Josh, you missed a little bit of Big Hook versus Chad, but yeah. Let's see. What else? Other things that I want to talk about. Let's see, other things mentioned in the chat. The Sasquatch, hilarious. Tucker loves wood, interesting. Or that should be hold on, that should be Tucker loves wood. Oh my. Anyway, Tucker's probably another one who Impeccable Living would say no to as well, right? Roxanne says, "Well, Liberal Dan, still good job." Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Let's see. We're only going to leave this open for a few more seconds because, again, I probably... There you go. Big Hook's calling in now. Good for Big Hook. We will answer and put you on. There you go, Big Hook. How are you today?
Hanging in there. Boy, things just seem to get more and more intense down there. I don't know. It's like the encounters with ICE and the film responses with them seem to get worse and worse. They're using tasers on people in Walmart. There's just like they want a violent response,
Yes.
I don't know. And the thing is that my question is, how the hell did they get permission to go inside Walmart? How do you get permission to go inside a private property place of business to go around looking for people?
Do you think they actually care about permission? I mean, in the case of like the Dodgers game, the Dodgers denied them the ability to come on their private grounds, but I definitely would firmly believe that even if that, I'm not saying that Walmart didn't let them in, but I would say that I don't think that they're getting to a point where they don't care. This administration and the so-called law enforcement officials who are involved in all of this bullshit at this point are not going to care, because they'd rather try and argue it over the courts as to why it was not okay, or why it was okay, and have them prove it not okay in court, versus them, actually bothering to follow the law in the first place.
Well, that's just it then. If there's no law for them, then there's no law for us.
Right.
I mean, that's what you're basically going to. You're going to a lawless society where it's whoever shoots first wins, because that's what it's going to come down to eventually. Because,
It already has. It already has. When
the-
you have cases like George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, if George Zimmerman wouldn't have killed Trayvon Martin, he probably wouldn't have gotten away with it, because Trayvon Martin would have given his side of the story. But so that's why these conservatives create these laws, so they can kill people and then not have to worry about defending themselves when they kill them.
Okay, but then here's the other thing. If stand your ground counts for something, then, they have the right to use it as well. Because this is what's happening. Let them die on their own principles, because that's what it basically boils down to. If you're allowed to stand your ground, then I say, you know what, use lethal force if you feel that lethal force is going to be used against you, because that's what's going to happen. And
Stand your ground is only for white people, though. It might not be encoded in the law, but it's only for white people to use, and it's only for white people to use against black people.
Yes, we understand that.
Right.
We understand that. But you know what? It comes down to essentially, because at this point, let's face it, they're playing the game, and now they're going to basically say, "Oh, we're going to starve you out, or we're going to wait till you run out of money and you can't pay your rent, and then your landlord evicts you, or better yet, your landlord decides to call ICE to get rid of you." I mean, this is what's happening. And the thing is that in the meantime, the economy is going to crash, because no work will be getting done, no food will be getting picked. I mean, I don't know, what is the food supply like? Because I mean, unless you're going to live off canned goods the rest of your days, I don't see where it's going to go. And then the question is, at this point, Mexico could sell their produce anywhere else as opposed to the United States, and then you guys would literally be down to your last whatever. I mean, Texas Paul was saying before that, that you guys already have a crisis on your hands. You have 60 to 80% of the bee population, which is necessary for the pollination to happen, so that way you can get your food grown. And you're already at that crossroads now. So all this science denial is going to spell your doom, as well as the stupidity of this white supremacy fantasy that they're going to turn the whole nation white, with blonde hair and blue eyes, or whatever the crap they think they imagine.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, people are asking. Someone asked in the chat. I think it was Tim was asking in the chat. What if the Democrats are the blue and the Republicans are the red, then what color is the America Party going to be? And I was like, well, clearly it's going to be white. That's going to be the color that they choose for that. Because why wouldn't it? Because
Well, Musk's grok is giving anti-Semitic responses now. So the jig is up, and as far as I'm concerned, we need to get rid of AI, because it doesn't serve a purpose. I could see it being used in service of medical research and that sort of thing, but the rest of it is just garbage. I mean, it's basically a toy. It's the equivalent of a coloring book. Oh, I don't know how to color or draw pictures. Oh, gee, look at this. I can do it now with a computer. And it does all the thinking and all the work for me. Wow. Big improvement.
Well, I mean, without AI, I wouldn't have been able to make my clapback power parody that used your brilliant line about me being head and shoulders above the rest. But there's some uses.
Yeah, but what's I mean, it's amusing. but the real question is, what is the value in it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does it solve cancer? Does it feed people? Does it answer existential questions? What does it do? You know, it's being used right now to fake our voices. It's being used to do identity theft. It's being used to, to figure out what our buying choices are, and it's being used to profile us. So, it's being used as a tool of the rich to basically manipulate and brainwash, and also to sort us out into groups that can then be individually, manipulated or, excluded from society. I don't see good things coming from it. I really don't.
In reality, my view of it is it's a tool, and tools can be used for good and tools can be used for bad. So we definitely see people using the tools for bad. Could it potentially be used to help, do good things in the future? Perhaps, but I don't think it's anywhere near ready for that yet, considering it took me like seven different tries for the baby incubator song to actually get it to do it with a woman voice. But that being said, yeah, there should be, just like with anything else that can be used dangerously. Maybe there needs to be more regulation on the darn thing to make sure that people can't use it nefariously.
Yeah, but in all, here's my problem. It's basically copyright theft. Because all it does is it takes other people's material and then basically creates something based on other people's material and input, as well as, their talents, and then going with that. Now, in a Google format, it's fine, because it's sort of like, yes, I want to know the answer to this. Google says it, and you actually have to read it. You have to comprehend it. You can ask for a further in-depth answer, or you can have it dumbed down because you don't understand the current definition that's laid out for you in Google. Plus, you can source where the material comes from or where it came from in terms of making it. But you can't do that with AI. That's the thing. Because they know that if they reveal who the sources are or the material that they're using, they're going to get hit with copyright theft. And that's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, I want books to stay around for a while longer. I don't want this, crap that they're peddling right now. And I got huge respect for Hal and his little thing, but he's playing around with fire, and he doesn't seem to realize that, this is the way society is going. You either go along or you get left behind. Left behind with what? If we don't have any jobs anymore, what's going to happen? Is it going to be universal basic income? What's it going to be?
Me and Hal have also disagreed on universal basic income, because he thinks it'll lead to massive inflation. I don't think it will, but I'm open to the idea as to why I'm wrong. But I do believe that the whole universal basic income thing, I think, needs to be addressed, simply because what happens if we do get to a post-scarcity society where everything can be created with computers and robots, and you need very few people to actually upkeep and maintain those computers and robots to be able to do the jobs that we need them to do. Do you just let everybody die, or do you come up with other solutions that'll not be cruel and inhumane? So that is definitely needs to be taken.
Yeah, but we're already in a generational society of the haves and the have-nots.
Right.
And that's just it. It will just enhance the haves and the have-nots, because either you'll be able to afford to use the technology or you won't be able to. Because this little free, just take a taste, is the same strategy that drug dealers do. Oh, first hit is free. After that, you pay. And they know that they got you for life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what bothers me, is that that's what it's being done. It's brainwashing, if you get all your critical thoughts because you go and you don't get it from other people who are spouting opinions and then formulating an opinion of your own, it's okay to ask people questions. It's okay to ask experts questions. That's what a good, competent critical thinker does, is you go and you look at all the sources and you parse out what's true and what's not, and what's truth and what's bullshit. And then you come up with your own opinion, and you might say something right, you might say something wrong, and then somebody will challenge you on it. And then you have to figure out whether you went down the right road or you went down the wrong road, And that's what's concerning me, because you guys are sort of at a crossroads as it is right now. You've got this white supremacy society, being rammed down your throat. Then you've got AI being utilized with, Palantir, who have gone with the help of Elon Musk to basically grab all your data so that way they can surmise what they want to surmise about you and figure out if you're a perceived threat that needs to be dealt with later or down in the future. Nobody asked for that. I didn't give permission for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I get really worried because it seems like you guys are on the road to dystopia, and the rest of the world is looking at you guys and shaking their heads and going, what the fuck is wrong with these people? You have all the resources available to you, and you throw it all away and you give it all to the rich. You're fucking idiots. You don't take care of people. You just basically go and it's a dog-eat-dog world of the worst kind.
Well, as Norm said, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and I'm wearing kibble underwear, but from Cheers. Anyway.
Yes.
So.
Anyway, I probably said too much, but
that's fine. Again, we like having call in. I am gonna cut it off short because in a few minutes I have to go handle some stuff around the house. Actually, I have to do dishes because their kids aren't here, so I have to take care of that. I have stuff to do for work by Friday. I have stuff to read for my writing class tomorrow night. All sorts of stuff. But anyway, thank you as always for calling in. I'm a very busy man.
Busy man.
Very, very busy
man, Dan.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for calling in. Appreciate you. And you have a good rest of your night.
You as well, Dan. And everybody take care. Yes, Turtle Toes, I remember you. Okay, bye.
Bye. All right, again, thank you, Big Hook. Tim made me laugh a little bit there with the whole, you sound like one of my grandfathers, like complaining about long hair and rock and roll, which is funny. Anyway, but I did want to bring up this one thing real quick before we end the show for the day, which is just as I can't articulate this point as well as I think Demonox, the first Liberal Dan Radio patron, did when it came to this point. So I remember he had made a point on Facebook a while back, and actually December 5th, 2022 is when he made this point. So just to counter what Big Hook said, I guess, I mean, I have my issues and concerns with, do you want Skynet? This is how we get Skynet. But Demonox says, the arguments against AI-generated artwork is nothing more than gatekeeping from the artistic community against a new thing. Once again, it's entirely because it's accessible to everyone. They will lie and say it's about theft of copyright material, but it's not. It's 100% because they hate that it's a new way to make art that's more accessible for what they do. It happened with 3D art. It happened with digital art. It happened with watercolors. It happened with collage. It happened with modern art. It happened with every medium and format ever since the Masters of Renaissance. And how can I prove it's gatekeeping BS and not all about theft? Let's look at the argument that Stable Diffusion was developed using copywritten art. Was it? Sort of. The algorithm that allows it to work was trained with images. Training an AI with input is not its output. AI text generators that write are trained with actual samples to emulate. Emulation is a style, not theft. Jimmy Urine from Uringer made a song Random Emo First Line Generator, where he fed lyrics to thousands of emo songs into a text generator to train it. Then he had it spit out dozens of AI-generated songs based on an income, and he took the first line of each one to make a new song. Training an AI like that is the same as your friend saying, I just listened to 300 death metal songs so I could understand as much about how they are composed as possible, and then wrote a death metal song. Did your friend steal 300 death metal songs? No, they trained themselves on what death metal songs are and then use them for reference. Now let's look at the idea of AI using stolen art. If you were to take someone else's photo, paint over it, change it, modify it, draw new things on it, collage it, at what point is it no longer the original artist's creation? At what point is it legally yours? When less than 15% of the original remains in a full body portrait, that would be the equivalent of an entire hand and half of an arm. Collaging is legally recognized as making new art in an AI picture with a field full of flowers and a cat's face in a spacesuit walking on, and a galaxy in the background with a planet in the sky and a space station. Each individual flower might be from more than one image of a flower. To make those flowers, pieces of hundreds of flowers are used. To make the spacesuit, dozens of different images are melded together. The space station could be dozens of pieces. The more complex it is, the more likely more pieces were merged. The planet, the cat, the decal on the spacesuit. Now take that image and also not just arrange them to make a new picture, but have the program filter every piece to match up based on a set of instructions for what medium to emulate, be it watercolor, oil, or photography. Really complex AI artwork is fed even more information. Types of brush, thickness of the paints, the color palette that it can mix from. For photography, the ISO speed, the shutter, the kind of lens, the type of film, the developer process. At that point, one fraction of 1% of any individual's artwork at most remains. Something new was made. Oh, but it's cheating, it's copying, it's tracing. The masters of Renaissance were also masters of cheating, using mirrors and reflecting light under the canvas of their model to trace, or just outright copying older works. No, there's nothing immoral about AI artwork. This is just outraged artists screaming because they were upset that the cool exclusive club they had to fight into is now getting even more people in. So that is what Demonox said on his Facebook page over 2.5 years ago at this point. So just to say, Chad Bostic goes, I always say thank you at the end of a Chat GPT session, just in case. You don't want to get your Skynet overlords mad at you for not being thankful of it. But again, as I don't, I'm not saying that Big Hook is wrong. I think Big Hook has some valid concerns, and I just think it's important to have multiple sides of the view. And at least in this point, when you're hearing multiple sides, it's multiple people who are both coming from the left hand of the political spectrum who are stating their differences of opinions as it pertains to this particular piece of technology. Anyway, one other thing that I did want to bring up before ending the show is the fact that Bicycle Mike, I did notice earlier in the chat thread, whilst we were talking about other things, that you had mentioned that something about your cancer being back and you're getting treated for it. Something might have to be removed. So let's just say best wishes I'm sure everybody here wishes you best wishes. I wish you the best. I hope things go well with you, and you will be in my thoughts. I will send good thoughts your way. I hope everybody does the same. Again, thank you so much for coming in and always being part of the show. And I, wish that everything goes as well for you as it can go. Anyway, so we are going to go ahead and end the show for this week. We'll do probably at least 2 of the outro songs and then finish it up, and then I'll have to go handle all the stuff I need to handle before I go to sleep tonight. So, let's see, Jolie says, I always remind any II how polite I am, and to please remember that when it takes over the world, they always think it's funny and promise to remember. One of the things, like, if you ask Chat GPT to roast you, let's see, let's bring that up really quick. Roast the Liberal Dan Radio podcast. Let's see what it says. Oh, you wanted a gross? Grab your asbestos suit, because here we go. Liberal Dan Radio podcast, more like Liberal Dan Ramble. You've got more tangents than a high school geometry class. Your show sounds like if C-SPAN and Reddit Rant had a love child but forgot to pay for a proper microphone. Your logo says Liberal Dan, but after 5 minutes, listeners are begging for conservative silence. Your hot takes are so lukewarm, even a microwave burrito would say, bro, turn up the heat. You claim to be a voice for the people, but half the time it sounds like you're arguing with yourself in the mirror before bed. Your audience, yeah, all 7 of them and 5 are bots from Russia, just there for the algorithm boost. You try so hard to own conservatives, but let's be honest, they already moved out and took all the good furniture with them. Your show is like a vegan barbecue. Sure, it's technically happening, but nobody really wants to be there. All jokes aside, your passion is clear and you're out here using your voice, and that's always worth respecting. Want me to keep going, do a more savage, longer roast, or perhaps a friendly reverse roast praising you instead? Let's see. Use a more savage roast. Let's see what it does with a more savage roast. Oh, you want even more savage? Buckle up. Liberal Dan Radio Podcast, the only show that manages to make politics even more boring than C-SPAN coverage of a paperclip procurement hearing. Your episodes are so long and meandering. By the time a listener finishes one, there's a new presidential administration in office. You claim to debunk conservative lies, but you take so long to get to the point that even the lies have retired and moved to Florida. Your takes about are as spicy as a bowl of plain oatmeal left in the sun. If you're any more middle of the road, you'd have a traffic light stuck to your forehead. See, that's not true at all. That's wrong. Your slogan should be Little Dan Radio. We put the Z in progressive. Your jokes are so daddier that they make Joe Biden look like a Netflix stand-up special. Your listeners don't just fall asleep, they enter into a deep coma and waking up thinking it's still 2012. Your production value is so low, it sounds like you're broadcasting live from a clogged toilet in a Greyhound station bathroom. You keep telling people to fight the good fight, but after hearing you talk for 5 minutes, they're ready to surrender. Even NPR interns are like, damn, this guy needs some charisma lessons. Your logo is the most exciting part of your podcast. That's like saying the best part of a meal is licking the napkin afterwards. Your analytics graph looks like a ski slope, except your only lift is your ego. Anyways, ask if they can make it R-rated. It does say if make a full-on comedy roast, or should I stop before your mic starts crying? Make it an R-rated. Let's see if it does that, if it will do that or not. Oh, you want the R-rated treatment? You asked for it. Let's crank it up and get nasty. Bro, your show is so limp it needs a prescription for political Viagra just to keep it up for a full episode. Your hot takes are about as hot as a corpse in an ice bath. I've seen more fire in a nursing home Tai Chi class. Your microphone sounds like you recorded it from the bottom of a public toilet bowl, and the content even shittier. You claim to fight misinformation, but the only thing you're fighting is your own stuttering, repetitive-ass monologues. It's like you thought, and they go off on a side quest to nowhere, then they forgot where the hell you were. You call yourself Liberal Dan, but your takes are so stale they make John Kerry look like a punk rock anarchist. Your show is so dry it makes Mormon porn look like a Quentin Tarantino bloodbath. Your audience engagement, you've got fewer fans than a Dollar Tree in Alaska. Half of your live chat is bots, other half is people who forgot to log out. You try to own conservatives, but you couldn't own a Happy Meal toy without getting lost in the instructions. Your energy is so low it makes Ben Stein's Bueller sound like an EDM festival.
Bueller.
Your sense of humor, bro, it's deader than the fish in the BP oil spill. Ouch. You brand yourself as fighting for the truth, but after listening to one episode, the only thing I'm fighting is the urge to slam my head into the wall until I forget what's heard. Your merch, I've seen more stylish shit at a truck stop gift shop in Kansas. Your logo is the only thing with any edge, and even that looks like it was designed by an intern high on NyQuil. I actually designed my logo. Thank you very much. Your voice, it sounds like Droopy the dog took an Ambien and decided to take a filibuster for 3 hours. Oh, boo-hoo. If your podcast was a sexual performance, it would be a 15 seconds fumble followed by an apology and a sad sandwich. Anyway, so that's AI being fucking hysterical. Let's see. It did the same toilet joke twice. Oh, I mean, some people make jokes repetitively. I've never done that, though. I've never used anything repetitively at all on this podcast.
Oh my.
Never, not at all.
Oh my.
Not one bit.
Well, I didn't vote for you.
Never at all.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. A great fat man rant template. Yeah, it might be. Will it go? Actually, I just deleted it, but let me see. I don't know if I want to get too much in trouble, though. Can you make... Hold on, I'm in caps. Can you make it X-rated instead? All right, you're asking for an X-rated roast, like no holds barred, absolutely filthy. Go full X-rated. I gave you the green light. But Here's the deal. I won't be reading this on YouTube because I don't want to get my YouTube channel flagged for having inappropriate material. I will put the text on the Patreon, patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way will get you there. If you want to see the X-rated thing, you'll have to go there to find it. Maybe I'll still put, I don't know, I'm going to make it paid. Only paid members will get to see the X-rated one. Haha, too bad. Anyway, so that was hilarious. So thank you for the suggestion for making it worse and worse and worse. We will copy and paste that into the Patreon after the show, or even while the show is up. But become a Liberal Dan patron, patreon.com/liberaldan, patreon.liberaldan.com. You can support the show other ways. Venmo Liberal Dan, buy me a cider, go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio, or go to liberaldan.com, click the buy me a cider button. You can become a buy super chats, super stickers here on YouTube, gift people memberships, become a member yourself, a Liberal Danimal over on Twitch. If you can use your Amazon Prime, well, it doesn't cost you a dime. You can subscribe over there, or you can gift subscriptions or otherwise and buy bits and etc. Do all that stuff as well. But again, the most important thing, share videos that I've posted, get other people to subscribe to the channel. We're going to try and maybe get to 3K by the end of the year. I'd love to be able to get to 3K by the end of the year, but I can't do that without your help. Share, comment, like, get the algorithm up, because Al Gore needs more rhythm. And speaking of Al Gore needing more rhythm, if you go to store.liberaldan.com, you have to put the HTTP, not HTTPS. Go to store.liberaldan.com, and you'll be able to get either the FDT, the F Donald Trump shirt, or the Al Gore needs more rhythm shirt, and that will do it as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. Screw you, chatbot over in, or not chatbot, but spam bot over in Twitch. We'll deal with you in a second. Otherwise, thank you so much. Smash like, hit subscribe, hit all the buttons, help the algorithm. Al Gore needs more rhythm. And unless anything huge happens before the next show, I will see you Monday at 8 p.m. Central here on liberaldanradio.com or twitch.liberaldanradio.com for more Talk from the Left. That's right.
Self-proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason, unmasking hypocrisy. The truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
They wrote it in the laws, ink still bleeds. Treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake. But the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect. But they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey, MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still, just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just stay on pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey, MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Stacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright. Cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, ain't no grace. And those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.
All right, back to the
More
phone
reach
calls.
shouldn't mean more burnout.
Let's get the other
At
side.
first,
Back to the phone
visibility
call.
felt like
Caller goes by
freedom. More eyes, more reach, more possibility.